The room is still, and the world outside has softened its voice to a distant hum. But here, in the quiet of your own bed, a storm is raging. The ceiling above you is a blank canvas, and yet your mind projects upon it the unfinished business of the day, the anticipated challenges of tomorrow, the ghostly echoes of conversations you wish had gone differently. Each tick of the clock is not a gentle passage of time, but a small judgment, marking another minute of precious rest, lost to the restless energy of thought. You can feel the weight of it all, a physical pressure in your chest, a tension in your jaw. This modern world, with its endless demands for our attention, has taught us how to be busy, how to be productive, how to be connected, but it has forgotten to teach us how to be still. It has left us alone in the dark, wrestling with this churning, relentless, internal monologue. This feeling, this pervasive sense of being unsettled, this subtle friction between how we want to feel and how we actually feel, has a name in the ancient wisdom of the East. It is called dukkha. It is not a grand, dramatic suffering, but a quiet, persistent undercurrent of unsatisfactoriness that follows us, especially into the silence of the night. But what if this darkness was not an enemy? What if the night, in its profound stillness, was not a void to be filled with anxiety, but an invitation to come home to yourself? What if the silence was not empty, but spacious, holding the potential for deep healing and understanding? The wisdom of the Buddhist path, the way of Zen, does not offer a magic pill to erase our troubles. It offers something far more powerful, a set of practical, compassionate, and profound tools to navigate our own inner world. It offers a light, not to banish the darkness, but to help us see clearly within it. Over the next 3 hours, we will embark on a journey together, a journey not to a faraway land, but deep into the landscape of your own mind and heart. We will learn to listen to the rhythm of our own breath, to watch the river of our thoughts without being swept away, and to hold our own joys and sorrows with a gentle, unwavering kindness. We will learn to transform the night from a time of struggle into a time of sanctuary, a sacred space for rest and for wisdom. The journey begins now with a single, simple intention: to be here and to be at peace. So let us begin, not with a great effort, but with a gentle turning inward. The mind feels like a vast, windswept plain at night, where worries and plans stampede like wild horses. To try and stop them all at once is to be trampled. It is an act of futility, a recipe for exhaustion. The wisdom of this path does not ask you to fight the storm. It asks you to find your anchor. It asks you to find the one thing in your entire universe of experience that is utterly simple, completely honest, and always, always with you. This anchor is your breath. It may seem too simple, too mundane to be the key to peace, but its power lies precisely in its simplicity. Think of it. Your breath does not live in the past. It cannot be anxious about a conversation that has already ended. Your breath does not live in the future. It cannot worry about a meeting that has not yet occurred. Your breath exists only in this one, single, indivisible moment, the present. It is the living, moving, physical embodiment of now. To bring your attention to your breath is to gently, lovingly, pull your awareness out of the phantom worlds of yesterday and tomorrow and bring it home to the only reality that ever truly exists. Let us find it together. As you lie there is no need to change a thing. Let your body be heavy, sinking into the support beneath you. Now, without any effort to control or manipulate it, simply bring your attention to the fact that you are breathing. Just notice it. For a moment, You might notice it at the tip of the nostrils. You might feel the subtle coolness of the air as it enters, and the gentle warmth as it leaves. There is a universe of sensation in that simple passage. The in-breath, a gift of life from the world. The out-breath, a letting go, a release. You do not need to do anything with this observation. You are simply the gatekeeper, watching the traffic of the breath as it comes and goes, without judgment, without interference. Perhaps you feel the breath more prominently in the rise and fall of your chest, a gentle expansion as the lungs fill, a soft surrender as they empty. Let your awareness rest there, feeling this rhythm. It is the rhythm of the ocean, the first and last rhythm you will ever know. Now, if it feels comfortable, let your attention travel down into the center of your body, to your abdomen. Place your hand there if you wish. This is often where the breath is most deeply felt. As you breathe in, feel the belly gently rise, like a balloon softly inflating, and as you breathe out, feel it gently fall. Inhale, a gentle rising. Exhale, a gentle falling. There is nothing to achieve here. There is no such thing as a good breath or a bad breath in this practice. There is only the breath that is happening right now, and your awareness of it. For so much of our lives, our breath is shallow, held high in the chest, a reflection of our tension and our haste. By bringing our attention to the belly, we invite the breath to deepen naturally. We invite the body to remember what it feels like to be truly at ease. Feel the entire arc of the breath. Feel the very beginning of the in-breath as the movement starts. Feel it swell to its peak. Notice the tiny, still pause at the very top, a moment of perfect fullness. Then, feel the long, slow, complete release of the out-breath. Let it all go. And notice the pause at the bottom, a moment of quiet emptiness, before the next breath arises all on its own. The body breathes itself. It has been doing so your entire life. Your only task is to watch, to feel, to be present with this incredible, life-sustaining miracle. Inevitably, your mind will wander. This is not a sign of failure. It is not a mistake. Please hear this with all the kindness in your heart. The mind's nature is to think, just as the heart's nature is to beat. It will drift away into a memory, a sound from outside, a plan for the weekend, a worry about a loved one. It will create entire stories, complete with characters and dialogue, in the span of a few seconds. The moment you realize this has happened, the moment you notice, I am no longer with my breath, I am thinking, that moment is a moment of victory. That is the moment of mindfulness. In that instant, you have woken up from the dream of thought. And what do you do when you wake up? You do not scold yourself. You do not sigh with frustration. You simply, and with infinite gentleness, acknowledge where you have been, thinking, and then you guide your attention back. You guide it back to your anchor, back to the feeling of the breath in your body. The breath is your friend. It is the most patient friend you will ever have. It is never disappointed in you. It never judges you for leaving. It is simply there, waiting for you to return. 1,000 times, 10,000 times. The practice is not in staying with the breath. The practice is in the returning. Each time you return, you are strengthening a neural pathway. You are carving a new habit in the mind. You are teaching yourself that there is a place of refuge, a place of stillness, that you can come back to again and again. Legend tells of the Buddha on the night of his enlightenment. After years of seeking extreme practices, of starving his body and tormenting his mind, he finally sat down beneath a great tree. He didn't engage in some complex visualization or esoteric chant. He did the simplest, most profound thing possible. He brought his awareness to his breath. He watched the in-breath. He watched the out-breath. In the utter simplicity of this act, he found the anchor that allowed him to withstand all the temptations, all the fears, all the distractions that his mind, personified as the demon Mara, could throw at him. He realized that the gateway to freedom was not somewhere outside of himself. It was right here. It had been with him all along. This practice we are doing together tonight is that same practice. It is the inheritance of 2,500 years of wisdom, passed down to you as you lie here in your own room. As you continue to rest your attention on the breath, you may notice a change happening without you even trying. The simple act of observation has a profound effect. The breath may begin to slow down. It may become deeper, more regular, and as the rhythm of your breath changes, it sends a powerful message throughout your entire body. It communicates directly with your nervous system, telling it, you are safe, the danger has passed. You can let go, you can rest. This is the shift from a state of fight or flight to a state of rest and digest. It is a biological key, turning the lock of anxiety and opening the door to tranquility. You are not forcing this to happen. You are simply creating the conditions for peace to arise naturally. You are coming home. So for the next few moments, just stay with this. The simple, raw, physical sensation of breathing, the rising and falling, the coming and going. Let it be your entire world. This breath is your anchor in the vast ocean of the night. Now that we have found this place of relative stillness, this stable platform, we have a vantage point. From here, we can begin to look at the storm itself. We can begin to observe the very nature of the thoughts that cause us so much trouble, not with fear, but with a gentle curiosity, knowing we always have our anchor to return to. With our anchor of the breath firmly in place, we have created a small island of calm in the midst of a turbulent sea. From this island, we can now begin to observe the sea itself. And what we notice is that the mental traffic we experience is like a great, ceaseless river flowing through the landscape of our consciousness. For most of our lives, we do not even realize we are in a river. We believe we are the river. We are swept up in its currents, tossed about by its rapids, pulled under by its eddies. If a current of anger flows by, we become the anger. If a current of sadness appears, we become the sadness. We are so identified with the contents of our minds that we have no separation, no space, no freedom. We are at the complete mercy of the next thought that happens to float by. The practice we will now explore is one of the most liberating skills we can ever cultivate. It is the art of moving from being a drowning person in the river to becoming a calm observer sitting on the riverbank, simply watching the water flow. This begins with a radical proposition, one that cuts to the very core of our identity. The proposition is this: you are not your thoughts. Read those words again in your mind. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who is aware of your thoughts. There is a fundamental difference. A thought is an event. It is a flash of lightning in the sky of your mind. But you are not the lightning. You are the sky itself. The sky is the vast, open, boundless awareness in which all thoughts, all emotions, all sensations appear and disappear. Clouds may drift across the sky, some dark and stormy, others light and wispy, but the clouds are not the sky. They can never harm the sky. They can never stain the sky. The sky remains changeless, spacious, and serene, allowing every cloud to come and to go. Your true nature is this sky of awareness. Your thoughts are merely the passing weather. When you truly begin to understand this, not just as an idea, but as a felt experience, everything changes. The tyranny of the mind begins to lose its power. So how do we experience this? How do we move to the riverbank? We do it by watching. Just as we learn to watch the breath, we now learn to watch the thoughts. As you lie here, anchored in the feeling of the breath, simply allow the river of thought to flow without interfering. Don't try to stop it. Don't try to change it. Don't even try to make it quiet. Your only task is to witness. A thought about an email you forgot to send might arise. See it, notice it, and then, instead of immediately getting swept up in planning the email's contents, just let it be. Let it float by on the river. A memory from childhood might surface, warm and pleasant. See it, feel its warmth, and then let it float on. A sudden, anxious thought about your health might appear, cold and sharp. See it, acknowledge its presence, and let it too pass by. To help with this, we can use a simple, gentle technique called labeling. It is not a rigid classification, but a soft mental note, a whisper in the mind that helps to objectify the thought and prevent us from becoming entangled in it. When a thought about a future task appears, you can gently label it, planning. When a worry about finances comes up, worrying. When a critical judgment about yourself arises, judging. When a memory plays out, remembering. When your mind drifts into a pleasant fantasy, daydreaming. The label is not meant to analyze the thought or get rid of it. It simply serves to remind you of your position as the observer. It's like sitting on the riverbank and saying, "Ah, there goes a log," or "There goes a brown leaf," or "There goes a patch of foam." It creates a tiny bit of space. In that space, there is freedom. The thought is no longer a subjective truth that defines you. It is an objective event that is happening in your awareness. You are not the anger. You are the one aware of a thought labeled anger. You are not the anxiety. You are the one aware of the mental event called worrying. This simple shift is the beginning of liberation. As you sit on this metaphorical riverbank, watching and labeling, another profound truth begins to dawn on you, directly, in your own experience. The truth of impermanence. You start to see, with undeniable clarity, that every single thought arises, stays for a little while, and then vanishes. No thought has ever stayed forever. The most terrifying thought you had last year, where is it now? The most brilliant idea, the most intense craving, the most painful memory, they all pass. The river is always flowing. This is incredibly good news. It means that when you are experiencing a difficult or painful thought, you don't have to fight it. You don't have to believe its story that it will last forever. You can trust the flow. You can know, with certainty, this, too, shall pass. It also means you don't have to desperately cling to pleasant thoughts. Clinging is a source of great suffering, because we are trying to make something temporary into something permanent. By watching them come and go, we can appreciate their beauty without the desperation of trying to hold on. We can let go gracefully. There is a timeless Zen story that illustrates this perfectly. Two monks, a senior and a junior, were traveling on foot. They came to a wide, muddy river where a beautiful young woman stood, hesitating to cross for fear of ruining her fine clothes. Without a word, the senior monk walked over to her, lifted her up into his arms, carried her across the swirling river, and set her down gently on the other side. The woman thanked him and went on her way. The two monks continued their journey. The junior monk was visibly agitated. He was fuming, his mind racing. How could his master, a monk who had taken strict vows never to touch a woman, do such a thing? He was scandalized. For hours, they walked in tense silence, the junior monk's inner turmoil growing with every step. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, he burst out, "Brother, I cannot believe what you did back there. We are forbidden to touch women, yet you picked one up and carried her in your arms. How could you break your vows like that?" The senior monk looked at his companion with a calm, compassionate gaze and replied softly, "Brother, I left that woman by the river hours ago. Are you still carrying her? We are all the junior monk, the events of our lives, the words people say to us, our own mistakes and regrets, are like the woman at the river. The event is over. It is in the past, but we continue to carry it. We carry it in the river of our mind, replaying the scene, analyzing it, judging it, feeling the anger or the shame or the regret over and over again. We are carrying burdens that we set down long ago. The practice of observing your thoughts is the practice of learning to see what you are still carrying. It allows you to look at the thought and say, "Ah, I see. I am still carrying that conversation from yesterday. I am still carrying that worry about tomorrow." And in the seeing, you are given a choice. You can continue to carry it, or you can gently, lovingly put it down on the riverbank and let it float away. The peace we seek is not found in a mind that has no thoughts. A living mind will always think. Peace is found in the cessation of our unconscious, compulsive attachment to those thoughts. It is found in the space of non-reaction, in the freedom of watching the river flow, without having to jump in. As we continue this practice of watching, we begin to notice the very character of this mental river. We see that it is not a gentle, meandering stream. It is wild, chaotic, and seemingly untamable, jumping from one subject to the next with the speed and agility of a frantic creature. This leads us to our next exploration, to meet and befriend this restless energy within, the energy known as the monkey mind. As we sit upon the riverbank of our awareness, watching the endless stream of thoughts flow by, we begin to notice something peculiar about the river's character. It is not a calm, majestic waterway. It is chaotic, turbulent, and profoundly restless. It leaps from a memory of childhood to a worry about work, to a snippet of a song, to a sudden craving for food, all in the span of a few seconds. There seems to be no logic, no peace, no stillness. To describe this ceaseless, frantic, and untamed quality of the untrained mind, the ancient sages of Buddhism used a wonderfully precise and insightful metaphor. They called it kapacita, which translates to the monkey mind. Picture a great tree with 1,000 branches stretching in every direction. Now imagine a monkey in that tree, a monkey that has had far too much fermented fruit to drink. It never stays still for more than a second. It screeches and swings from a branch of the past, reliving an old grievance, then immediately launches itself to a branch of the future, rehearsing an imaginary argument. It grabs for a tantalizing fruit of desire, takes one bite, and drops it, already distracted by a rustling leaf of fear in the distance. It chatters endlessly, a constant, nonsensical monologue of judgment, comparison, and commentary. This is the state of our mind, especially when the distractions of the day fade away. In the silence of the night, the monkey's frantic acrobatics become the main event. The branches it swings on are our own thoughts, and its exhausting, relentless energy is the source of our deep unease. It is crucial to understand that this monkey mind is not a personal failing. You are not broken or uniquely flawed because your mind is restless. In fact, our modern world is the perfect training ground for an overactive monkey. From the moment we wake to the glow of a screen, we are conditioning our minds for distraction. Every notification, Every email, every task we try to juggle simultaneously is like giving the monkey another jolt of sugar. We have taught our awareness to leap from one stimulus to the next, rewarding it for its agility, and so it has forgotten how to simply rest on one branch. The branches are familiar to us all. There is the branch of planning, where the monkey meticulously builds spreadsheets and to-do lists in our head at 3 in the morning. There is the branch of rehashing, where it obsessively replays a conversation, trying different lines, seeking a better outcome for a moment that is long gone. There are the branches of judgment, both of ourselves and others, and the sticky, sweet branches of fantasy and daydreaming. The monkey's constant movement creates a background hum of anxiety, a feeling of being scattered and spread thin, a deep and abiding fatigue that sleep alone cannot cure. The first and most common reaction when we encounter this inner chaos is to fight it. We try to command the monkey. Be quiet. We shout. Stop thinking so much. Just let me sleep. But what happens when you shout at a frightened, agitated monkey? Does it become calm and obedient? No, it becomes even more terrified. It screeches louder. It swings more wildly. It becomes more convinced that there is a danger to escape from. Our struggle against the monkey mind is the very thing that fuels its frenzy. The act of resisting our own thoughts is like trying to flatten the ripples in a lake by striking the water with our hands. The more we strike, the more chaotic the surface becomes. The struggle is the source of the disturbance. The resistance is the suffering. So what is the alternative? The path of wisdom offers a radically different approach. It is not one of battle, but of befriending. It begins with compassionate acceptance. Instead of seeing the monkey as an enemy to be vanquished, we can change our perspective and see it as a troubled part of ourselves, a part that is scared, overstimulated, and in need of kindness. When you notice the frantic thinking, instead of tensing up with frustration, you can soften. You can offer a gentle mental acknowledgement. Ah, there you are, my restless monkey mind. I see you jumping around. I know you are trying to keep me safe, in your own chaotic way. This simple act of acknowledgement, free from judgment, is profoundly calming. It takes away the second layer of suffering, the suffering we create by judging ourselves for having a busy mind. You are not fighting anymore. You are witnessing. The next step in this gentle taming is to give the monkey something to do. A restless monkey cannot simply be told to do nothing. It will not understand. It needs a simple, engaging task. And what is the most simple and engaging task we have? It is the task we have already learned. It is the breath. Returning our attention to the breath is like gently, lovingly, offering the monkey a banana. For a moment, its frantic swinging stops. It has something to hold, something to be occupied with. It focuses on the simple reality of the banana feeling of the breath entering, the feeling of the breath leaving. It is at peace. For a moment. Of course, being a monkey, it will eventually drop the banana and swing off to another branch. Our mind will wander away from the breath. And when it does, our new, compassionate approach means we don't get angry at the monkey for being a monkey. We simply notice it has wandered off, and we gently offer it another banana. We guide our attention back to the breath, again and again and again. This is the practice, not a battle for control, but a patient, repetitive, and deeply kind act of gentle redirection. There is a beautiful Zen story about a young student who was deeply frustrated by his inability to find mental peace. He would sit for hours by a lake, determined to meditate, but his mind was a storm of thoughts. He saw the surface of the lake, disturbed by the wind, covered in ripples, and he felt it was a perfect reflection of his own inner state. In his frustration, he started trying to fix it. Every time a ripple appeared, he would reach out and try to smooth the water with his hand, only to find that his own effort created even more waves, more turmoil. The harder he tried, the more chaotic the water became, until he was flailing in agitation. His old wise teacher saw him from a distance and came to sit beside him on the shore. The teacher said nothing at all. He simply sat in profound stillness, his posture relaxed, his breathing deep and even. The student, seeing his master's imperturbable calm, felt a little ashamed of his own struggle and stopped his frantic efforts. He decided to just sit like his master. Together, in silence, they watched the lake, and slowly, with no effort at all, the wind died down. The ripples grew smaller and smaller, and the surface of the lake became perfectly still, a flawless mirror reflecting the vast, clear sky above. After a long time, the master turned to the student and said, "You see, you cannot force the water to be still. You can only create the conditions for the stillness to reveal itself. Our mind is that lake. Our desperate attempts to force it into silence are our hands, slapping the water and creating more chaos." The practice of befriending the monkey mind, of gently returning to the breath, is the act of sitting still on the shore. We are creating the conditions for our mind to settle on its own, in its own time. We are trusting the nature of things. So as you lie here tonight, do not fight the monkey. Greet it with kindness. See its restlessness, not as a flaw, but as a symptom of a world that has trained it for distraction. And each time it swings away on a branch of thought, gently, patiently, offer it the banana of your breath. As we become more familiar with this process, a new question arises. Why is the monkey so agitated in the first place? What is it truly chasing? What is it truly fleeing from? To truly help our restless mind, we must understand its deeper motivations. This leads us to explore the three fundamental energies that drive its endless journey, the core forces that Buddhist wisdom identifies as the very roots of our discontent. As we sit with our restless monkey mind, offering it the kindness of our attention and the gentle anchor of the breath, we begin to wonder about its deeper motivations. A monkey does not leap through the trees for no reason. It is driven by powerful, primal instincts. It is either chasing after something it finds desirable, like a ripe, sweet fruit, or it is fleeing from something it perceives as a threat, like a predator lurking in the shadows. Our minds operate under a similar, though more complex, set of principles. The endless swinging from thought to thought is not random. It is fueled by deep, underlying energies. The wisdom of the Buddhist path identifies three such fundamental energies. They are referred to as the three poisons, not to condemn us, not as a moral judgment or a concept of sin, but as a clear, compassionate diagnosis of the unskillful habits of mind that create our suffering. They are the very fuel of the monkey mind's frantic journey. The first poison is known as lobha in the ancient Pali language, which translates as craving, greed, or attachment. This is the energy of pulling towards, of wanting, of grasping. It is the voice in the mind that constantly whispers, "I need this. I want more of that. If only I had that, then I would be happy." In our modern world, this poison is the very engine of our consumer culture, but its reach is far deeper than just material possessions. We crave pleasant sensations. We crave praise and approval from others. We crave security. We crave control. At night, as you lie in the dark, you can feel the subtle and not so subtle workings of this poison. It manifests as a desperate craving for sleep itself. I need to fall asleep now, the mind insists. And in that very act of craving, it creates tension, which pushes sleep further away. It manifests as a longing for a different reality. I wish my body didn't ache like this. I wish my life were more exciting. I wish I had a partner who understood me better. It is the monkey, seeing a delicious-looking piece of fruit on a distant branch and spending all of its energy in a desperate, lunging attempt to reach it, never satisfied with the branch it is already on. The nature of craving is that it is a bottomless pit. Even if we get the thing we desire, the satisfaction is fleeting, like the taste of honey that vanishes from the tongue, leaving only the desire for more. It is a promise of fulfillment that is never truly kept, ensuring the monkey is always in motion, always seeking the next hit of pleasure. The second poison is the polar opposite of the first. It is called dosa, which translates as aversion, hatred, or ill will. This is the energy of pushing away. It is the mind that recoils, resists, and rejects our present experience. It is the voice that screams, "I hate this. Get this away from me. This shouldn't be happening." It ranges from the mildest flicker of irritation at a buzzing mosquito, to the searing heat of anger, to the cold, hard stone of resentment we carry in our hearts. Aversion is a declaration of war on reality. It is a refusal to accept what is. Lying in bed at night, you can feel its power intimately. It is the fierce resistance to an unpleasant sensation in your body, the tightening in your chest, the clenching in your jaw. It is the anger that flares up as you replay an argument from the day, the bitterness you feel towards someone who wronged you. It is the intense frustration with your own inability to sleep, a feeling that borders on hatred for your own wakefulness. When we are caught in aversion, our whole being contracts. Our heart closes, our mind narrows, our body tenses. It is the monkey, seeing what it thinks is a snake on its branch. It screeches and puffs out its chest, trying to scare the snake away, filling itself with adrenaline and fear. But often, the snake is just a shadow, a harmless piece of vine. Our resistance, our aversion, is what turns a neutral experience into a threatening one, and what transforms a painful experience into unbearable suffering. It is a battle we can never win, because we are fighting against the flow of life itself. The first two poisons, craving and aversion, the endless pulling and pushing, are fueled by a third, much deeper poison. This is the root poison, the very soil in which the other two grow. It is called moha, which translates as ignorance or delusion. This is not ignorance in the sense of being uneducated or unintelligent. A person can have many university degrees and still be deeply caught in moha. This is a profound spiritual ignorance, a fundamental misunderstanding of the way things truly are. It is being blind to the nature of reality. What are we ignorant of? We are ignorant of impermanence. We forget that all things, all feelings, all situations are in a constant state of flux. And so, we crave for pleasant things to last forever, which is impossible, and we resist unpleasant things as if they will be permanent, which is also impossible. We are ignorant of the nature of satisfaction, mistakenly believing that getting what we want and avoiding what we don't want is a viable strategy for lasting happiness. And most fundamentally, we are ignorant of the true nature of ourselves, believing in a solid, separate, independent me that needs to be constantly protected, defended, and gratified. This delusional sense of a separate self is the ultimate source of all craving and all aversion. The monkey is ignorant of the fact that the very tree it is in, with all its branches, is not a solid, permanent structure, but a living, changing organism, intrinsically connected to the earth, the sun, the rain, and the entire forest. It thinks its frantic journey is an independent drama, failing to see the bigger picture. There is a powerful and famous parable from the Lotus Sutra that vividly illustrates our condition. Imagine a great ancient mansion, vast and beautiful, but with only one gate. The wealthy man who owns the house has many children, perhaps 10, 20, or even more. One day, while the man is away, a fire breaks out in the mansion. The old, decaying structure is quickly engulfed in flames. When the man returns and sees the fire, he is horrified because he knows his children are inside, playing with their favorite toys, completely oblivious to the mortal danger surrounding them. He rushes to the gate and calls out, "Children, come out quickly. The house is on fire. You must leave now." But the children are so engrossed in their games, so attached to their playthings, that they do not heed his warning. They do not understand what fire means, what the danger is. Seeing that a direct warning is failing, the father has a brilliant idea. He knows what his children desire. He calls out again with a new strategy. "Children, come outside. I have wonderful new toys for you here, better than any you have inside. I have beautiful carts drawn by goats, carts drawn by deer, and magnificent carts drawn by oxen, waiting for you. Come out, and you can have whichever one you choose." The children, hearing of these marvelous new toys, more splendid than anything they possessed, immediately drop their old playthings and race each other out of the single gate of the burning house to safety. In this story, we are the children. The burning house is our world, the cycle of existence, which is always on fire with the realities of aging, sickness, death, and impermanence. The toys we are so engrossed in are the fleeting pleasures and pains of our lives, the objects of our craving and our aversion. We are so busy playing the game of pulling and pushing that we do not see the flames licking at the walls. The three poisons are the very essence of this dangerous game. Recognizing that these poisons are at work within us is not a cause for shame. It is the moment the Father sees the fire. It is the beginning of wisdom, the first step towards freedom. Now that we have diagnosed these core energies, we understand what fuels the monkey's journey. But to truly heal this condition, we cannot work from a place of instability. We cannot untangle these deep knots while being tossed about by the very storm they create. We must first find solid, unshakable ground. We must find a refuge that is real, present, and true, a place to stand, so we can begin our work with clarity and courage. That ultimate ground, that first and last refuge, is waiting for you right now. It is the living, breathing reality of your own body. Having explored the restless nature of the monkey mind and the three poisons of craving, aversion, and ignorance that fuel its journey, we arrive at a crucial understanding. These poisons are not merely abstract philosophical concepts. They are living energies that inhabit our physical form. The mind and the body are not two separate entities, but an inseparable, interconnected whole. Your anxiety is not just a thought, it is a knot in your stomach. Your anger is not just a feeling, it is a tightness in your jaw and a fire in your chest. Your sadness is not just an idea, it is a physical heaviness that pulls your shoulders down. Over years of unconscious living, our bodies have become silent storehouses for our unprocessed experiences, our unfelt emotions, and our deepest tensions. The body keeps the score. And so, to work with these deep energies, we cannot remain in the chaotic realm of pure thought. We must come home. We must return to the most honest, immediate, and tangible reality we have. We must return to the home of the body. To be embodied is to be grounded. To be in your body is to be in the present moment. For the body, like the breath, cannot exist in the past or the future. It is always, irrevocably, here and now. The practice we will now undertake is a deep journey of re-inhabitation. It is a guided exploration, a process of listening with great intimacy to the subtle language of sensation. This practice is often called a body scan. Its purpose is not simply to relax, though profound relaxation is a very common and welcome result. Its deeper purpose is to reclaim the territory of our own being, to bring the gentle, healing light of awareness into corners of ourselves that may have been dark and neglected for a very long time. It is an act of profound self-compassion and homecoming. Let us begin. Find a posture of comfort and stillness. Allow your eyes to gently close. Take a few deep, conscious breaths, and with each exhalation, feel your body becoming a little heavier, a little more surrendered to the pull of gravity. Let go of any obvious tension you might be holding. Now, bring your full and undivided attention, like a soft, warm spotlight, all the way down to your feet. Let it rest on your left foot. Bring your awareness to the toes of your left foot. You do not need to wiggle them or move them. Simply feel them from the inside out. What is there to be felt? Perhaps you feel a sense of warmth or coolness. Perhaps there is a slight tingling or a feeling of pulsation. You might feel the pressure of a blanket or the contact of one toe against another. You might even feel nothing at all, a kind of numbness. Whatever is there or not there is perfectly fine. There is nothing you need to feel. The practice is simply to be aware of whatever the reality is in this moment. Now allow your awareness to expand, to include the sole of your left foot, the arch, the heel resting on the surface beneath you. Feel the entire foot now, bathed in your gentle, curious attention. Now, shift the spotlight of your awareness over to your right foot. Begin with the toes of the right foot. Explore them with your attention, one by one. Notice the sensations present here. Are they different from the left foot? The same? It does not matter. Simply notice. Let your awareness fill the entire right foot, from the tips of the toes to the back of the heel. Feel both of your feet now. Simultaneously, two living fields of sensation at the base of your body, anchoring you to the earth. Gently, allow your attention to begin traveling up your body. Let it move into your left ankle, your lower leg, your shin bone, and your calf muscle. So often we hold tension in our calves without realizing it. Just feel what is there. Let the awareness move through your left knee, a complex and wonderful joint, and into your large thigh muscle. Feel the entire length of your left leg, from the hip socket to the tips of the toes, alive with sensation. Then, bring your awareness to your right lower leg, your calf and shin, moving up through the right knee and into the right thigh. Feel the entirety of your right leg. Be aware of both legs now, heavy, relaxed, and present. Now bring your awareness into the core of your body. Let it rest in your pelvic area, your hips, your buttocks. This is a region where we store a great deal of deep tension, related to security and survival. Without judgment, simply feel the sensations here. The weight, the pressure, the solidity. Allow the muscles to soften. Let your awareness move into your lower back, another common storehouse of stress. If you feel tension here, there is no need to fight it. Simply acknowledge it. And then, let your awareness fill your entire abdomen. Feel the gentle rhythmic movement here, as the breath flows in and out, the soft rising of the in-breath, the gentle falling of the out-breath. You are at home in the very center of your being. From the abdomen, let the spotlight of awareness rise into your chest. Feel the subtle movements of the rib cage, expanding and contracting with each breath. See if you can feel, deep inside, the gentle, steady beat of your own heart, tirelessly working for you, day and night. Let your awareness fill your entire upper back, your shoulder blades resting against the surface beneath you. Now, bring your attention to your shoulders. This is perhaps the most common place we carry our burdens. The weight of the world seems to land right here. Let your awareness rest on your shoulders. And if you can, invite them to soften, to melt, to release their load, even just a little. From your shoulders, let your attention flow down your left arm, through the upper arm, the elbow, the forearm, the wrist, and into your left hand. Pay special attention to your hand. Feel the palm, the back of the hand, and each finger, one by one, all the way to the tingling aliveness at your fingertips. Then, let the awareness travel down your right arm, from the shoulder to the upper arm, elbow, forearm, wrist, and into the rich field of sensation that is your right hand and all its fingers. Feel both hands, both arms, simultaneously. Now, we move to a place of great tension. Bring your awareness to your neck and the column of your throat. Gently invite the muscles here to be soft. Let your awareness rise into your face. Become aware of your jaw. Is it clenched? Can you allow the upper and lower teeth to part, ever so slightly? Let your tongue rest softly in your mouth. Feel your lips, your cheeks, your nose. Become aware of the tiny, intricate muscles around your eyes. Invite them to be smooth and at ease. Feel your eyelids, resting gently. Let your awareness move to your forehead. Can you allow it to become wide and smooth, releasing any furrows of worry? And finally, let your attention fill your entire scalp, the back of your head, and the very top of your head. Now, for a moment, expand your awareness to include your entire body, all at once. From the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Feel the whole body as a single, unified field of sensation. Breathing, pulsating, alive. This body is your home. It is your connection to life. It is the only place you ever truly are. There is a story of a great king who felt crushed by the weight of his duties. He complained to a court sage that the burden of his entire kingdom was upon his shoulders. The sage listened patiently and then asked, "Your Majesty, in this very moment, can you feel the weight of the crown on your head?" The king paused and noticed, yes, he could. "And can you feel the texture of your royal robes against your skin?" the sage asked. Again, the king brought his attention to the direct sensation. "And can you feel the solid floor beneath your feet?" The king did so. In those few moments of returning to the simple, direct physical sensations of his reality, the great, heavy story of his burden dissolved. He was not carrying a kingdom. He was a man, in a body, in a room. He had come home, as you rest here, in this re-inhabited home of your body. You may have noticed that some areas feel tight, or sore, or uncomfortable. When you meet such a place, you can use the breath as a tool of compassion. As you breathe in, imagine that your breath can carry warmth and spaciousness and kindness directly to that area of tension. And as you breathe out, imagine that tension softening, melting, releasing its grip, even just a tiny bit. Inhale, bringing softness and care. Exhale, letting go. You are not trying to force the tension away. You are gently and lovingly inviting it to release. By returning to this bedrock of physical sensation, we have found our ground. We are no longer lost in the phantom world of thought. We are here, present, embodied. And from this stable, grounded vantage point, resting in the living field of our own body, we are perfectly positioned to observe one of the most profound and liberating truths of existence as it plays out in every cell of our being. We are ready to witness the universal law of constant, ceaseless change. As we rest here, grounded in the living reality of our own body, we become aware of a subtle, ceaseless dance of sensation. An itch appears on your arm, and you watch it. A moment later, it has vanished. A feeling of warmth spreads through your chest, and then it, too, recedes. A thought arises, vivid and demanding, and in the next instant, it is gone, replaced by another. This constant, unstoppable flow of arising and passing away is the direct experience of one of the most profound and central truths of existence. In the language of the Buddha, this truth is called anicca, which means impermanence, transience, or inconstancy. To truly understand anicca, not just as a word, but as a living reality in every cell of your being, is to hold the master key that can unlock the door to profound peace and freedom. Let us explore this truth together, using the laboratory of our own experience. Continue to rest your awareness within your body. Notice the flow of your own breath. Each in-breath has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It arises, fills you, and then it is gone. It is replaced by an out-breath, which also has its own life cycle. It is a perfect, miniature demonstration of anicca happening right now. Broaden your awareness. Can you feel the subtle pulsation of blood through your veins? The steady rhythm of your heart? Your body is not a solid, static object, like a statue carved from stone. It is a process, a river of constant change. Millions of cells are being born and are dying within you in this very moment. The person you are, physically, is not the same person you were a year ago, or even an hour ago. You are a living, breathing manifestation of impermanence. The sensations within this body are also in constant flux. The feeling of pressure where your body meets the bed may feel intense for a moment, but if you watch it, it shifts, it softens, it may even disappear from your awareness altogether as another sensation. Perhaps a coolness on your skin or a gurgle in your stomach takes its place. Nothing is fixed. Everything flows. Now, let us turn the light of this inquiry onto the mind itself. Think of any strong emotion you have felt today. Perhaps it was joy, or frustration, or boredom, or excitement. Where is that emotion now? It came, it stayed for a while, and it passed, just like a cloud moving across the sky. Our feelings are like the weather, constantly changing. In the dead of night, a wave of anxiety can feel like a permanent tidal wave, as though it will drown us forever. But if you have the courage to watch it with this understanding of anicca, you can know with certainty, this feeling is here now. It is strong, and it too will pass. This knowledge does not necessarily make the feeling vanish instantly, but it changes your relationship to it. You are no longer its prisoner. You are the calm witness to a passing storm. The same is true for our thoughts. We have already seen them as a river. Now we see that each drop of water in that river, each individual thought, is utterly transient. The most brilliant idea you have ever had, where is it now? The most terrifying worry. They arise in the mind, they sparkle, or they threaten for a moment, and then they dissolve back into the space from which they came. To see this is to stop taking our own thoughts so seriously. We stop believing every single one of them because we know their fleeting, ephemeral nature. The great challenge of human life and the root cause of so much of our suffering lies in our relationship with this universal law. The reality is anicca. But the mind, in its ignorance, constantly craves for permanence. We want our happiness to be permanent. We want our health and youth to be permanent. We want our loved ones to be with us forever. We want our pleasant experiences to never end. And on the other side, we want our unpleasant experiences, our pain, our grief, our anxiety to be gone immediately and never return. This clash, this friction between the mind's demand for permanence and the universe's absolute law of impermanence is the very definition of suffering, or dukkha. Suffering is not a punishment. It is the natural consequence of resisting reality. It is like trying to build a solid dam out of sand in the middle of a flowing river. It is an exhausting and futile struggle. The path to peace, therefore, is not to somehow make things permanent, which is impossible, but to align our understanding with the truth. It is to learn to flow with the river, rather than fight against it. There is a deeply moving story from the Buddhist scriptures that illustrates this truth more powerfully than any philosophical explanation. It is the story of a woman named Kisa Gotami. She was a young mother, and her only child, a beautiful baby boy, was the light of her life. One day, the child fell ill and died. Kisa Gotami was consumed by a grief so vast and so absolute that it shattered her sanity. She refused to accept that her son was dead. Clutching his small, lifeless body, she wandered through her village, going from door to door, desperately begging for a medicine that could bring him back. Some people mocked her madness, others turned away in pity, but no one could help her. Finally, a compassionate man saw her plight and suggested she go and see the Buddha, the enlightened one who was teaching nearby. Carrying her son, Kisa Gotami ran to the Buddha and fell at his feet, pleading with him to perform a miracle. The Buddha looked upon her with infinite compassion and said, "There is only one medicine that can help you, but to make it, I need a special ingredient. I need you to bring me a single mustard seed from a house in the village where no one has ever experienced death, a house that has never lost a child, a parent, a spouse, or a friend." A flicker of hope ignited in Kisa Gotami's heart. A mustard seed was such a simple thing to find. She thanked the Buddha and began her quest. At the first house, she knocked and asked, "The enlightened one has sent me to fetch a mustard seed to make a medicine for my son. Can you spare one?" "Of course," the woman of the house replied. As she was about to take the seed, Kisa Gotami remembered the Buddha's condition. "Tell me," she asked, "has anyone in this house ever died?" The woman's face fell. "Oh, my dear," she said sadly, "the living are few, but the dead are many. Just last year, I lost my beloved husband." Filled with sorrow, Kisa Gotami went to the next house, and the next, and the next. The story was the same. At every door, everyone was willing to give her a mustard seed, but in every single family, someone had experienced the pain of loss. One had lost a sister, another a father, another their dearest friend. As she walked from house to house, from one story of sorrow to another, a profound transformation began to take place within her. The sharp, personal, isolating nature of her own grief began to soften and dissolve into a vast, compassionate understanding of the shared human condition. She realized that death was not a unique tragedy that had struck her alone. It was a universal law. It was the way of all things. Her own sorrow was part of the great ocean of sorrow that touches every life. With this realization, her frantic search ended. She took the body of her son to the charnel ground, and as she laid him to rest, she said to herself, "I thought that my grief was my own, but it is the grief of all the world." She returned to the Buddha, no longer the mad, grieving mother, but a woman who had woken up to a profound truth. "Did you bring the mustard seed?" the Buddha asked. "The work is done, my lord," she replied. "I have seen that the law of impermanence rules over all things. To truly embrace anicca is to become like Kisagotami. It is to see that our struggles, our joys, our pains, our very lives are part of a vast, flowing, interconnected process. When we accept this, we can hold our joys with gratitude, but without desperate clinging, knowing they are precious, precisely because they are fleeting. And we can hold our sorrows with courage and grace, knowing that they, too, are a passing season. This acceptance of change allows us to participate in life with a newfound lightness and flexibility. But this profound law raises an even deeper question. If our body is constantly changing, our feelings are changing, and our thoughts are changing, then who is this I that is witnessing it all? Is there a permanent, unchanging self at the center of this storm of impermanence? Or is the observer also part of the flow? This question leads us to the very heart of the Buddha's teaching, to the next great door of liberation. Having rested in the truth of anicca, of impermanence, watching the ceaseless flow of our own body, thoughts, and feelings, we are led naturally to a question that lies at the very heart of our existence. If my body is in constant flux, if my feelings are like the weather, and my thoughts are like a river, then who, exactly, is this I that is experiencing it all? We have a deep, instinctual sense of being a self, a coherent, continuous entity who was born, has lived a certain life, and is now lying here in this bed. We think of this I as the protagonist of our story, the driver of our vehicle, the master of our house. But the wisdom of the Buddhist path invites us to look closer, to investigate this feeling of selfhood with the same gentle, honest curiosity we have brought to our breath and our body. This investigation leads us to the second great mark of existence, the truth of anatta, which is often translated as not self or no self. This is perhaps the most radical and liberating teaching of all, for it shows us that the heavy burden of the self we carry is a weight we can actually set down. Let's begin this investigation together. What is this I made of? First, there is our body, our physical form. We often think, this is my body. But as we have just seen, this body is a constantly changing process. It is a collection of bone, muscle, blood, and flesh, all borrowed from the earth, all destined to return to it. Is this impermanent collection of elements the real, unchanging me? If you lost a limb, would you be any less you? The body changes, it ages, it gets sick. It is an unreliable foundation for a permanent self. So, perhaps the body is not the true self. What about our feelings and sensations? Are they me? When a wave of pleasure arises, we think I am happy. When a wave of anxiety washes over us, we think I am anxious. We identify completely with the feeling. But we have already seen that feelings are like clouds, appearing and disappearing in the vast sky of awareness. If you were truly your feelings, you would cease to exist when the feeling passes. You would be born and die 1,000 times a day. Feelings are events that happen to us, or rather, within us. They are not the essence of who we are. So, feelings are also not the true self. Let's look deeper at our perceptions and thoughts, the endless stream of opinions, judgments, memories, and plans. This seems closer to our idea of me. We define ourselves by our stories, our beliefs, our intellect. I am a smart person. I am a warrior. I believe in this, and I don't believe in that. But as we have sat on the riverbank, watching this stream, we have seen that thoughts are also impermanent. They are conditioned by our upbringing, our culture, our mood, what we ate for dinner, A thought is a mental event, not a solid entity. To believe that you are your thoughts is to build your house on the surface of a churning river. So, our thoughts are also not the true self. So, what is left? Perhaps it is consciousness itself, the simple awareness that knows the body, the feelings, and the thoughts. This feels very fundamental, but even consciousness, upon close inspection, is not a solid, independent thing. There is no consciousness that exists by itself. There is only consciousness of something. There is seeing, which arises when an eye meets a form. There is hearing, which arises when an ear meets a sound. There is thinking, which arises when the mind meets an idea. Consciousness is a process, a verb, not a noun. It arises in dependence on other things. It too is part of the flow. What we call a self, then, is a brilliant but illusory construction. It is a bundle of these 5 changing processes: body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness, that we have bundled together and slapped a label on, the label of me. A powerful and ancient analogy for this is found in a text called The Questions of King Milinda. The sage Nagasena is talking to the Greek king Milinda, who asks him what his name is. The sage replies that he is known as Nagasena, but that this is just a name, a designation. The king is confused and asks, if Nagasena is just a name, then who is Nagasena? He challenges the sage, asking if his hair is Nagasena, or his skin, or his feelings, or his thoughts. To each question, the sage answers number. The king, triumphant, declares that Nagasena does not exist. The sage then turns the tables. He asks the king how he arrived here. The king says he came in a chariot. Nagasena then begins to deconstruct the chariot. Your Majesty, is the axle the chariot? No, says the king. Are the wheels the chariot? Number. Is the frame the chariot? The reins? The yoke? To each question, the king answers, number. Nagasena then asks, is the chariot all of these parts put together? No, replies the king. The chariot is something else besides the parts. Finally, Nagasena delivers the crucial point. Your Majesty, chariot is just a convenient name we give to this collection of changing parts, assembled in a particular way. There is no separate, independent, essential chariot to be found anywhere. It is empty of any inherent self-existence. And so it is, he concludes, with Nagasena. It is just a name for a temporary collection of physical and mental processes. This can sound frightening or nihilistic at first, as if we are being told we do not exist. But that is a misunderstanding. The teaching of anatta is not about annihilation. It is about liberation. It is about setting down a crushing burden. Think about the source of your anxiety at night. So much of it revolves around this I have to solve this problem. What will they think of me? I am not good enough. I might get sick. My future is uncertain. The self we are so desperate to protect, promote, and defend is the very source of our torment. It is a ghost we have created, and we spend our lives polishing its chains and fearing its every whisper. The practice of seeing through this illusion is the practice of letting go of that heavy ghost. When there is less I, there is less to defend. When there is less me, there is less to worry about. When a harsh criticism comes your way, it no longer strikes a solid, vulnerable core of me. It is simply seen as a mental formation, an unpleasant sound wave that arises in awareness and passes away. When you fail at something, it is no longer a permanent stain on the identity of me, the failure. It is simply an event, a learning experience in the ongoing process of life. The sense of personal offense begins to dissolve. The need to be right all the time softens. The constant, exhausting project of self-management begins to relax. What replaces it is not a void, but a sense of spaciousness, of connection, of freedom. When the hard, artificial boundaries of me and you begin to soften, we can feel our profound interconnection with all of life. Your sorrow is not just your sorrow, it is part of the human condition. Your joy is not just your joy, it contributes to the joy of the world. So as you lie here, when a thought arises like, "I am so anxious," see if you can gently reframe it. Instead of "I am anxious," notice, there is a feeling of anxiety present in this body-mind process. Instead of "I am a bad person," notice, a thought of self-judgment has arisen. This shift from "I am" to "there" is the space of freedom. It is the difference between being caught in the storm and being the sky that holds the storm. You are not the wave, you are the ocean. Seeing through the illusion of a solid self and understanding the universal law of impermanence prepares us to look directly at the first and most famous teaching of the Buddha. It allows us to understand the nature of what he called dukkha, or suffering. With the knowledge that we are trying to protect an illusory self from an ever-changing world, we can now see that this friction, this unease, is not a sign that something is wrong with us, but an inevitable part of the human experience. And, most importantly, a teacher that points the way to liberation. Resting here, in this quiet acceptance of impermanence and the spaciousness of not-self, we arrive at the very foundation of the Buddha's path. We arrive at the first great truth he shared with the world after his enlightenment. It is a truth that can sound somber at first, but when held with wisdom and compassion, becomes the very key to our liberation. This is the truth of dukkha. The word is often translated as suffering, and indeed it includes that, but its meaning is far richer, deeper, and more subtle. It also means stress, unsatisfactoriness, discontent, the subtle friction of a life that is never quite perfectly aligned with our desires. It is the hum of unease that so often becomes a roar in the silence of the night. To understand dukkha is not to become pessimistic. It is to become a wise doctor who can accurately diagnose an ailment, not to despair, but so that a true and lasting healing can begin. The Buddha, like a master physician of the mind, identified 3 distinct types of dukkha, 3 layers of our discontent. The first is the most obvious, the one we all know intimately. It is called dukkha, which means the suffering of painful experiences. This is the raw, undeniable pain of life. It is the ache in your back, the throb of a headache, the sting of a cruel word. It is the sharp grief of loss, the gnawing anxiety about the future, the deep ache of loneliness. This is the straightforward, overt suffering that we spend so much of our energy trying to avoid, fix, or numb ourselves to. It is an unavoidable part of having a sensitive body and a feeling heart in this world. The second type is more subtle and gets closer to the heart of our predicament. It is called viparinama dukkha, the suffering of change. This is the stress that comes from the fact that pleasant experiences do not last. It is the slight sadness that tinges the end of a beautiful day. The anxiety that comes from knowing a happy moment is fleeting. We finally achieve something we have longed for, and for a while there is joy, but then the fear of losing it creeps in. We have a wonderful, connecting conversation with a loved one, and then it is over, and we are left with the echo, the wanting more. It is the pain inherent in pleasure itself, because we know, due to the law of anicca, that it cannot and will not be permanent. So we cling. We grasp at happy moments, trying to freeze them in time. And in that very clinging, we create tension. We suffer not because something bad is happening, but because something good is ending, or because we fear it will end. This is the suffering of attachment to the ephemeral. The third type of dukkha is the most profound and often the most difficult to see, yet it is the one that forms the constant background radiation of our lives. It is called sankhara dukkha, the suffering of conditioned existence. This is the fundamental, pervasive unsatisfactoriness of being a self made up of constantly changing, interdependent parts. It is the subtle but persistent feeling that something is just not quite right, even when everything on the surface is going well. It's the background hum of restlessness, the existential angst, the feeling of being incomplete. It arises because we are a bundle of conditioned processes, body, feelings, thoughts, all of which are inherently unreliable, uncontrollable, and impermanent. We are like a finely tuned machine that is, by its very nature, always slightly out of alignment, always subject to friction. This is the dukkha that we feel most acutely at night, when the external distractions fall away and we are left with the bare, vibrating, conditioned nature of our own being. When the Buddha declared that life is dukkha, he was not being a pessimist. He was being a supreme realist. This was his first noble truth. And this is a point of incredible compassion. The fact that you feel this stress, this anxiety, this deep unsatisfactoriness is not a personal failure. It is not a sign that you are broken or doing life wrong. It is a sign that you are a sensitive, awake human being, experiencing the fundamental nature of reality. You are not alone in this. Every being who has ever lived has experienced dukkha in these three forms. To recognize this is to lift the heavy burden of self-blame. You are not being punished. You are simply participating in the shared human condition. With this diagnosis in hand, the Buddha offered a brilliant metaphor to help us work with our suffering, the parable of the two arrows. He said that in life, we will all inevitably be struck by a first arrow. This is the unavoidable pain of dukkha and viparinama dukkha. It is sickness, the loss of a loved one, an unexpected setback, an unkind word. This first arrow is outside of our control. It happens. But then, he said, the untrained person does something remarkable. They take out a second arrow and shoot themselves with it in the very same spot. What is this second arrow? The second arrow is our reaction to the first. It is our mental proliferation, our story about the pain. The first arrow is the physical sensation of sleeplessness. The second arrow is the thought, this is terrible. I'll be useless tomorrow. Why can't I ever sleep? My health is going to be ruined. The first arrow is a difficult feeling of sadness. The second arrow is the judgment. I shouldn't be so sensitive. I need to just get over it. The second arrow is made of blame, self-pity, fear, anger, resentment, and judgment. The first arrow causes pain. The second arrow causes suffering. The Buddha's teaching is revolutionary because it tells us that while we cannot always avoid the first arrow, the second arrow is entirely optional. Our practice is to become so mindful, so aware, that we can feel the sting of the first arrow without reaching for the second. We can learn to say, "Ah, here is pain," without adding, "and this is a catastrophe." This transforms our entire relationship with our struggles. Dukkha is no longer the enemy to be vanquished. It becomes our teacher. It becomes a wise, honest messenger that points directly to where we are stuck, where we are clinging, where we are shooting ourselves with second arrows. The pain is a spotlight, showing you exactly where you are at war with reality. The anxiety you feel is pointing to a place where you are attached to a particular outcome. The anger is pointing to a boundary that you feel has been crossed. Instead of turning away from our pain, We can learn to turn towards it with curiosity and kindness, asking, "What are you trying to show me? Where am I still holding on?" There is no more beautiful metaphor for this process than that of the lotus flower. The lotus is a symbol of purity, beauty, and enlightenment throughout the East. But where does the lotus grow? It does not grow on a pristine mountaintop or in a sterile, manicured garden. The lotus flower sends its roots down into the thickest, darkest, richest mud at the bottom of the pond. It is from this mud, this muck and mire, that it draws the nourishment it needs to push its stem up through the water and blossom into the sunlight, clean and radiant. That mud is our dukkha. It is our grief, our fear, our confusion, our restlessness. Our suffering is not an obstacle to our awakening. It is the very raw material of it. It is the fertile ground from which wisdom and compassion can grow. To try and live a life without any mud is to deny ourselves the very nutrients we need to blossom. So as you lie here, with whatever form of dukkha is present for you tonight, see if you can change your relationship to it, just a little. See it not as your enemy, but as the rich, dark mud. See the sleeplessness, the worry, the ache, not as a sign that you are failing, but as the first arrow. And see if you can notice when you start to reach for the second. Now that we understand the general landscape of our discontent, we have the courage and the clarity to look more closely at some of the most powerful and challenging energies that arise within it. We can begin to face the great emotional storms that sweep through our inner world, starting with one of the most primal of all, the shadowy figure of fear. Having acknowledged the universal nature of dukkha, our shared human condition of unsatisfactoriness, we can now turn towards the specific forms it takes within our own hearts and minds. Like a brave explorer venturing into a dark cave with a steady lamp, we can begin to meet the powerful emotional energies that arise within us, not with the intention of destroying them, but of understanding them. And in the deep quiet of the night, when the world outside is asleep, there is perhaps no visitor more common, more powerful, or more chilling than the specter of fear. Fear can feel like an enemy, a paralyzing force that constricts our breath and freezes our heart. But the path of wisdom suggests a different approach, a radical turning towards. It invites us to see fear not as a monster to be slain, but as a misguided guardian, a primal energy that we can learn to meet with mindfulness, courage, and great compassion. First, let us understand the nature of the beast. Fear, in its chronic, anxious form, almost never lives in the present moment. It is a creature of time, living almost exclusively in the future. As you lie here now, in the physical reality of this room, in this moment, you are safe, you are breathing, you are held by the support beneath you. But the mind, our powerful and creative storyteller, casts its line into the waters of tomorrow, or next week, or next year, and it dredges up terrifying possibilities. These are the what-if stories. What if I fail the presentation? What if I lose my job? What if this ache in my body is a serious illness? What if I end up alone? Fear hijacks our magnificent power of imagination, the same power that can create art and solve complex problems, and turns it into a horror movie generator, with you as the star. It projects these terrifying movies onto the screen of your mind, and they feel so real, so vivid, that your body reacts as if the threat is happening right now. But it is not. It is a phantom. The fear is real, but its cause is often a ghost conjured from the mists of a future that does not exist. The first step in working with this phantom is to stop watching the movie. It is to gently, but firmly withdraw your attention from the narrative, from the storyline of what if. The moment you notice your mind is caught in a fearful story, The practice is to shift your attention out of your head and into your body. We will use the skill we have already cultivated. We will become a scientist of inner sensation. Ask yourself, without judgment, where in my body do I feel this fear? For some, it is a cold, tight knot in the pit of the stomach. For others, it is a fluttering, hollow sensation in the chest, a rapid, shallow breathing. Perhaps you feel it as a constriction in your throat, making it difficult to swallow. Or maybe it's a cold sweat, a tingling in your hands and feet, or a buzzing, electric energy throughout your entire nervous system. Your task is not to fix these sensations or make them go away. Your task, for now, is simply to feel them, be with them, investigate them with a gentle curiosity. What is the pure, raw, physical quality of this energy? Is it hot or cold? Is it sharp or dull? Is it vibrating or still? Is it expanding or contracting? By focusing on the direct, physical reality of the fear, you strip it of its story. A catastrophic financial collapse is a terrifying concept. A tight, vibrating sensation in your solar plexus, however, is just a sensation. It is manageable. It is something you can be with. You are taking the monster and breaking it down into its constituent parts, and seeing that the parts themselves are not so monstrous after all. They are just energy, just sensations, arising and passing away in the field of your awareness. Once you have learned to anchor your attention in the physical sensation rather than the mental story, you can begin the second stage of this practice, the art of befriending. This is a profound shift from resistance to acceptance, from hostility to kindness. Instead of trying to push the feeling away, you can gently turn towards it. You can even use your breath to help you. As you breathe in, you can acknowledge the feeling, saying to yourself, breathing in, I know that the feeling of fear is here in me. And as you breathe out, you can offer it softness and space. Breathing out, I allow this feeling to be here. I am safe enough to feel this. You are not endorsing the fear's story, but you are validating its presence as an energy. The moment you stop fighting it, it stops fighting you. The great Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh offered a beautiful and powerful image for this practice. He taught us to hold our fear as a mother holds her crying child. Imagine a mother hearing her infant cry in the middle of the night. She does not get angry at the baby. She does not analyze the chemical composition of the baby's tears. She does not command the baby to be quiet. She simply goes to the child, lifts him gently from his crib, and holds him close to her heart. She rocks him softly, perhaps humming a lullaby, her entire being radiating warmth, acceptance, and love. Her presence says, there, my darling, I am here for you. You are not alone. We can do this for ourselves. Our fear is a crying baby within us. Our mindful awareness is the loving mother. We can pick up that tight, scared feeling in our belly with our warm, non-judgmental attention. We can hold it with compassion. We can rock it with the gentle rhythm of our breathing. We can whisper to it with our intention. There, I feel you. I am here for you. It's okay. This is the practice of self-compassion in action. It is a deeply healing act of inner tenderness. On the night of his enlightenment, the Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree, poised on the brink of ultimate liberation. The demon Mara, the lord of illusion and the personification of all the mind's unskillful energies, saw this and was determined to stop him. Mara unleashed his terrifying armies to assault the seated Buddha. There were demons of monstrous shape, wielding terrible weapons. There were storms of fire, floods, and earthquakes. It was the ultimate display of terror. And what did the Buddha do? He did not create a magical shield. He did not fight back. He did not run away. He simply sat, utterly still, present, and aware. He saw the terrifying forms. He heard the dreadful sounds, and he met them all with an unwavering, peaceful equanimity. He acknowledged their presence by saying, "I see you, Mara." Then, he gently reached down and touched the ground with his fingertips, calling the earth itself to bear witness to his right to be there, to his long journey toward this moment of awakening. And because he did not feed the demons with his own fear, because he did not give them any energy of resistance to push against, the terrifying armies dissolved, the weapons turned to flowers, and Mara was defeated, not by force, but by a vast, unshakable peace. That army of Mara is within us. It is the army of our own fears, our doubts, our anxieties. Our practice is to become like the Buddha. We do not need to fight our fear. We simply need to see it, to acknowledge its presence with a calm and steady gaze, and to remember our right to be here, to be at peace. We touch the earth of our own body, our own breath, and we bear witness to the fear without becoming it. We let the demons come, and we let them go. By meeting our fear with mindfulness, we discover that we are far bigger than our fear. We are the sky, and fear is just a passing cloud. And as we grow more courageous in meeting this primal energy, we find we have the strength to face its fiery twin, the energy that so often lies just beneath our fear, or explodes outward from it, the powerful, transformative fire of anger. As we learn to sit with the trembling energy of fear, holding it with the tenderness of a loving parent, we may discover another energy, a close cousin that is often intertwined with it. It is the hot, expansive, and powerful energy of anger. Anger can arise as a shield to protect our fear, or it can erupt on its own when our sense of justice or our personal boundaries feel violated. In many spiritual traditions, anger is seen as an obstacle, a defilement to be eradicated. But in the path of mindfulness and wisdom, we take a different view. We see anger not as an enemy, but as a source of tremendous energy. Like fire itself, this energy is not inherently good or evil. A fire can burn down a village, causing immense destruction, or it can provide warmth on a cold night, cook a nourishing meal, and light the way in the darkness. The problem is not the fire. The problem is our lack of skill in tending to it. The practice we will explore now is how to become a wise and skillful firekeeper of our own heart. The first and most compassionate step in working with anger is to understand that it is very often a secondary emotion. It is a loud, protective guard dog that starts barking furiously when a more vulnerable, softer part of us has been hurt. Like a skilled detective, we must learn to look beneath the fire, to investigate the initial spark. Think of a time you recently felt a flash of anger. Perhaps someone cut you off in traffic, or a loved one made a thoughtless comment, or you felt unfairly criticized at work. Feel the memory of that heat, that rush. Now, gently ask yourself, just before the anger flared, what was the first, more vulnerable feeling that was present? Were you feeling disrespected, unheard, unseen? Perhaps you felt embarrassed, or powerless, or frightened. Often, the sequence is this: a feeling of hurt arises, and because that feeling is so vulnerable and uncomfortable, the mind, in a split-second protective reflex, covers it over with the hot, powerful, and more active energy of anger. It feels safer to be angry than it does to be hurt. To recognize this is a moment of profound self-compassion. It shifts the story from "I am an angry, bad person" to "I am a person who was feeling hurt, and my mind reacted with anger to try and protect me. This insight alone can soften the hard edges of self-judgment, creating the space needed for true transformation to begin. Once we have this understanding, we can begin the practice of being with anger when it arises. Just as we did with fear, the key is to move our attention from the mental story to the physical sensations. The story is the fuel. It is the endless loop of "he shouldn't have done that. Who does she think she is?" This is so unfair. Every time we replay that story, we are throwing another log on the fire. The practice is to stop adding fuel. Instead, drop the story and bring your awareness directly into your body. Where, physically, do you feel this fire? Is it a burning sensation in your chest or stomach? Is it a surge of heat rising to your face and neck? Is it a clenching in your fists, a tightening of your jaw? Is it a pressure building behind your eyes? Your task is simply to observe these sensations as pure energy. Notice their intensity, their texture, their temperature, without judgment. Just watch the fire burn. You are not trying to put it out. You are not trying to make it bigger. You are sitting at a safe distance, being a calm, steady witness to the raw energy of anger as it moves through your body. In this practice of witnessing, we learn to walk a wise middle path between two unhealthy extremes. The first extreme is suppression. This is what many of us are taught to do. We feel the fire of anger, and we immediately try to stuff it down, to put a lid on it, pretending it isn't there. This is like trying to contain a volcano. The pressure builds and builds, and it will eventually find a way out, either in a disproportionate explosion over some minor incident, or by turning inward, poisoning us with chronic resentment, bitterness, and even physical illness. Suppression does not transform anger. It simply marinates us in its toxic residue. The second extreme is unrestrained expression. This is the act of picking up the fire and throwing it at whoever we think is responsible. While it may offer a momentary feeling of release, this path causes tremendous harm. It damages relationships, creates regret, and sows the seeds for future conflict, perpetuating a cycle of suffering for ourselves and others. The wise middle path is the path of mindful acknowledgement. We see the fire. We say to it, "I see you. Anger. I feel your heat. You are allowed to be here." We give the energy space to exist within us, but we do not obey its command to speak or act. We hold it in a vast, strong, and spacious awareness until it has burned through its own fuel and naturally subsides. There is a wonderful Taoist story that perfectly illustrates how our anger often depends on having a target to blame. A man was relaxing in his small boat, fishing on a tranquil lake shrouded in a thick morning mist. He had his eyes closed, enjoying the peace. Suddenly, another boat bumped forcefully into the side of his, jarring him from his reverie. His eyes shot open, and he was instantly filled with rage. He was ready to stand up and scream insults at the careless, inconsiderate person who had so rudely shattered his peace. He turned, his mouth open to shout, but he stopped dead. The other boat was empty. It had simply broken free from its moorings upstream and had drifted down with the current. In that instant, all of his anger vanished. There was no one to be angry at. The event was the same. His boat was still bumped, but the object of his blame had disappeared, and with it, the anger itself. How many times a day are we angered by empty boats? The person who was rude to us in the store might have just received a terrible medical diagnosis. The driver who cut us off might be rushing to the hospital. The loved one who spoke harshly might be exhausted and in pain. We so often assume malice when the cause is simply ignorance, thoughtlessness, or another person's own suffering. When we can remember to check if the other boat is empty, it creates a space of wisdom around the event. The personal sting lessens, and the fire of our anger has less fuel to burn. Finally, as we become more skilled at being with this energy, we discover that anger has a sacred purpose. Once the initial, reactive, destructive heat has cooled, the energy that remains can be a powerful force for clarity and positive change. Purified anger is the energy that allows us to say a clear, firm no to situations that are harmful to ourselves or others. It is the energy that helps us establish and maintain healthy boundaries. On a larger scale, this transformed anger is the fuel for social justice. It is the righteous fire that looks at inequality or cruelty and says, "This is not acceptable, and I will dedicate my energy to creating change." The practice is one of alchemy. We take the raw, toxic lead of our personal, reactive rage, and through the heat of our mindful attention and the coolness of our wisdom, we transform it into the shining gold of compassionate action. From being a victim burned by our own rage, we become a skillful firekeeper, able to use this powerful energy for warmth, for light, and for transformation. As we look deeply into the heart of the fire, we see that it is almost always ignited by pain, or the pain of others. And this leads us to the universal antidote, the ultimate healing balm for all forms of suffering. It leads us to the practice of actively cultivating the boundless, gentle, and courageous heart of compassion. Having journeyed through the fiery landscapes of fear and anger, we have seen that deep beneath their turbulent surfaces, there is almost always the tender ground of pain. We have seen that suffering, or dukkha, is a universal truth, the mud from which the lotus of wisdom can grow. Now, we consciously turn from simply observing this suffering to actively cultivating its most powerful antidote. We begin the sacred work of opening the heart. This is the practice of karuna, a Pali word that translates as compassion. Compassion is not pity, nor is it sadness. It is the heart's natural, trembling response in the face of suffering. It is the courageous and unwavering wish for all beings, including ourselves, to be free from their pain. If fear is a contraction of the heart, compassion is a boundless expansion. It is the gentle rain that can soothe any fire. Before we can offer the water of compassion to the world, we must first learn to nourish the garden of our own heart. For so many of us, this is the most difficult step. We can easily feel for a suffering friend or a stray animal, but we treat ourselves with a harshness we would never dream of directing at another. As you lie here, perhaps feeling restless, anxious, or in physical discomfort, notice the tone of your own inner voice. Is it critical, impatient, judgmental? The path of compassion begins by reversing this habit. It begins with the radical act of offering yourself the same kindness you would offer a dearly loved friend. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot give what you do not have. True, sustainable compassion for others must be rooted in a deep and abiding compassion for yourself. Let us try this together, right now, in this very moment. Bring your awareness to whatever form of suffering is present for you. It might be the mental suffering of a racing mind, the emotional suffering of worry, or the physical suffering of an aching body. Acknowledge its presence without judgment. This is your mud. Now, if it feels comfortable, you might place a hand gently over your heart. This is not just a symbolic gesture. The physical warmth can be profoundly soothing to the nervous system. Feel the warmth of your own hand on your own chest. And in your mind, offer yourself a few simple, silent phrases of kindness. You might try these. I know this is a difficult moment. It's okay to feel this way. May I be gentle with myself. May I hold my own suffering with tenderness. May I be free from this pain. Repeat these phrases softly, letting them sink in. Don't worry about trying to force a particular feeling. The intention is what matters. You are planting seeds, You are signaling to your entire being that you are on your own side. This is not selfish. It is the necessary, foundational act of a healthy heart. It is filling your own cup so that its overflow may naturally water the world around you. Once we have established this foundation of self-compassion, we can begin to extend the circle of our care outward. Bring to your mind's eye a person whom you know is suffering. It could be a close friend going through a difficult time, a family member struggling with illness, or even someone you don't know personally, perhaps someone you read about or saw in the news whose story touched your heart. Hold an image of this person gently in your awareness. See their pain, their struggle, their vulnerability. Allow your heart to connect with their experience of dukkha. And just as you did for yourself, begin to offer them the silent phrases of compassion. I see your pain. I know this is difficult for you. May you be free from your suffering. May you find peace in your heart. May your burdens be eased. As you repeat these wishes, notice what happens in your own body, in your own heart. You may feel a warmth, a softening, a sense of connection that dissolves the boundaries of separation. This feeling is karuna. You are not trying to magically fix their problems. You are training your heart to respond to suffering not with fear or aversion, but with an open, tender, and courageous love. It is vital here to understand the difference between compassion and pity. Pity looks down from above. It says, "Oh, that poor person. I am so glad I am not in their situation." Pity creates distance. It reinforces the sense of me over here, safe and sound, and them over there, in their unfortunate state. It is rooted in a subtle sense of superiority. Compassion, on the other hand, meets another at eye level. It says, I see your suffering, and it touches the place in me that also knows suffering. We are in this together. Compassion is born from the recognition of our shared vulnerability, our shared humanity. It closes the distance. It is a feeling of me too, not poor you. It is the understanding that we all swim in the same ocean of impermanence and are all subject to the same laws of joy and sorrow. The Buddha's own life provides a beautiful model for this boundless compassion. There is a story of a time when he came across a great elephant named Parileya. The elephant had grown old and had been mistreated by the younger elephants in his herd, so he had left to live in solitude in the forest. Now, he was sick and weak. The Buddha, seeing the great creature's suffering, did not pass by. He approached the elephant with great gentleness, speaking to him in a soothing voice. He brought him fresh water to drink and tenderly bathed his ailing body. The Buddha's compassion was not reserved for humans or for his devoted disciples. It flowed naturally and without discrimination to any being that was in pain. This story teaches us that true karuna does not ask, is this person worthy of my compassion, or does this creature matter? It simply sees suffering and responds with the heart's wish to soothe and to heal. It is a universal response to a universal condition. As we cultivate this compassionate heart, we find it has a powerful, transformative effect on our daily lives. It is the perfect antidote to the poison of judgment. When you truly understand in your bones that every single person you meet is carrying their own invisible burdens, their own history of pain, their own secret fears, it becomes much more difficult to be harsh or critical. You begin to see difficult behavior not as inherent malice, but as a clumsy, unskillful expression of that person's own suffering. The angry driver, the rude clerk, the critical family member, you can see them as the empty boat, drifting aimlessly, pushed by the unseen currents of their own pain. This doesn't mean you condone harmful actions, but it does mean you can hold the person behind the action with a measure of understanding, which protects your own heart from the poison of resentment. Compassion, then, is the heart's wise and tender response to the reality of pain. It is the courage to stay present with suffering, and the sincere wish for that suffering to be eased. It is the rain that washes the dust from our eyes, allowing us to see ourselves and others more clearly. But the heart has another great capacity. It can not only respond to sorrow, but it can also respond to joy. To cultivate a truly balanced and resilient heart, we must learn not only to be with suffering, but also to celebrate happiness, both our own and that of others. This leads us to the next step in our journey, the practice of cultivating a warm, appreciative, and boundless goodwill, the beautiful practice of metta, or loving kindness. Having opened our hearts to the reality of suffering with the tender wish of compassion, we now turn to its bright and radiant twin. If compassion, karuna, is the heart's response to pain, then loving kindness, metta, is the heart's response to life itself. It is the active and unconditional wish for all beings to be happy, safe, and well. It is not the possessive, romantic love of songs and poems, nor is it a love that is earned or deserved. Metta is a boundless, universal goodwill, a steady, quiet warmth that we can cultivate within ourselves, like tending to a gentle flame in a hearth. This flame has the power to melt the ice of indifference, to soothe the sting of loneliness, and to illuminate the darkest corners of our own mind. It is a skill of the heart, and like any skill, it can be developed through patient and gentle practice. The traditional practice of cultivating loving kindness begins with a set of simple, beautiful phrases, which we first learn to offer to ourselves. For, as with compassion, we cannot genuinely wish for others to be happy if we are at war with ourselves. We must be the first recipient of our own goodwill. So, as you lie here, resting in this quiet space, I invite you to silently, gently, offer these words to your own being. Let them be a soft, inner whisper. The phrases are, may I be safe, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with ease. Let's be with these phrases for a moment. May I be safe, a deep wish for safety from all inner and outer harm, for protection from our own destructive thoughts and from the dangers of the world. May I be happy, not a superficial, fleeting pleasure, but a genuine, deep, and lasting happiness that comes from a heart at peace. May I be healthy, a wish for the well-being of this body and this mind, for strength and vitality. And may I live with ease, a gentle prayer for a life free from needless struggle, a life of grace, balance, and peace. As you repeat these phrases for yourself, do not try to force any particular feeling. Simply rest in the intention. Let the words be a gentle balm. You are affirming your own fundamental worthiness to be safe, happy, healthy, and at peace. This is the foundation upon which all further practice is built. Now that we have kindled this gentle flame within our own heart, we can begin to share its warmth. The practice of metta unfolds in stages, gradually expanding the circle of our loving kindness. First, bring to mind a benefactor or a dearly loved friend. Choose someone for whom you feel easy, uncomplicated love and appreciation. It could be a mentor, a cherished family member, a close friend, or even a beloved pet. Picture them in your mind's eye. See them smiling and happy. Now, direct the 4 phrases of loving kindness toward them. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. As you say these words, truly intend the wish. Feel the natural warmth and care that flows from your heart toward this being. Rest in that feeling for a few moments, letting the love flow freely. Next, we expand the circle to include a neutral person. Bring to mind someone you see in your daily life, but for whom you feel neither positive nor negative feelings. It could be the person who serves you coffee in the morning, a cashier at the grocery store, or a neighbor you pass on the street. You may not even know their name. Hold an image of this person in your mind, and just as you did for your loved one, extend the 4 phrases to them. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. This stage is powerful because it begins to break down the walls of our indifference. We start to see the humanity in the strangers around us, recognizing that they too just want to be happy and free from suffering, the same as we do. It transforms the world from a collection of strangers into a community of fellow beings. Now, we come to the most challenging and transformative stage of the practice. I invite you now to bring to mind a difficult person. For this practice, it is wise to start with someone who is only mildly irritating or difficult, not the person who has caused you the deepest harm. Hold this person's image in your mind and attempt to offer them the phrases of loving kindness. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. As you do this, be very aware of what arises in you. You may feel resistance. You may feel anger, hurt, or a sense of hypocrisy. This is completely normal and okay. Do not judge yourself for it. The practice here is not to force a feeling of love that isn't there. The practice is to notice the resistance with kindness. The practice is the sincere intention itself, however faint. Why do we do this? We do this not for their sake, but for our own. Holding on to anger and resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person will die. It harms only ourselves. By offering even a flicker of goodwill, we begin to release ourselves from the prison of our own bitterness. We are cleansing our own heart. Finally, we let the circle of loving kindness become boundless. Let your awareness expand from your own being, out to encompass everyone in the room, in the building, in your city. Then let it expand further, across your country and across the continents, to all beings living in this world, great and small, near and far, seen and unseen, to beings in the sky, on the land, and in the water, to friends, to strangers, and to enemies. To all beings without exception, we offer this universal wish. May all beings be safe. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings live with ease. Rest for a moment in this feeling of boundless, unconditional goodwill. A heart without walls, without barriers, connected to all of life. There is a powerful story that demonstrates the protective power of a heart saturated with metta. The Buddha's jealous cousin, Devadatta, conspired to assassinate him. As the Buddha and his monks were walking through a narrow street, Devadatta arranged for a ferocious, wild elephant named Nilagiri to be intoxicated and released, charging directly at them. The Buddha's followers panicked, shouting for him to run, but the Buddha remained perfectly calm and continued to walk forward with a serene smile. He did not prepare to fight. He simply opened his heart and radiated an immense, powerful, and unwavering field of pure, loving kindness toward the enraged animal. The elephant, thundering towards him with murderous intent, entered this palpable field of goodwill. Its fury was met not with resistance, but with a vast, unconditional love, and a miracle occurred. The elephant's rage dissolved. It slowed its charge. Its eyes softened, and it eventually came to a halt, kneeling down before the Buddha, completely tamed, not by force, but by the sheer power of love. This story teaches us that a heart filled with metta is its own protection. When our minds are suffused with goodwill, the negativity, anger, and ill will of the world have a much harder time penetrating our peace. The charging elephants of harsh words or difficult situations are met with the calming field of our own kindness, and they often lose their power to harm us. Cultivating metta is the practice of building a beautiful inner home, a sanctuary of warmth and acceptance that we can carry with us everywhere. As this practice deepens, however, especially as we work with difficult people, we often realize that a simple wish for their happiness is not enough. The layers of hurt and resentment are sometimes too thick. We see that before we can truly wish them well, we may first need to engage in the courageous, liberating, and often misunderstood practice of letting go. This leads us to the next essential quality of an open heart, the profound art of forgiveness. Having opened our hearts with the boundless wish of loving kindness, we may have encountered certain barriers. When we direct our goodwill towards those who have hurt us, we can often feel a wall of resistance, a knot of pain and resentment that the warmth of metta cannot seem to penetrate. This is natural and human. It signals that before our goodwill can flow freely, we must first attend to the wounds of the past. This brings us to the courageous, challenging, and profoundly liberating practice of forgiveness. Forgiveness is perhaps one of the most misunderstood of all spiritual virtues. We are often taught that it is a moral duty, an obligation to absolve someone of their wrongdoing. But in the path of wisdom, forgiveness is not something we do for the other person. It is not about condoning their actions, forgetting what happened, or letting them off the hook. Forgiveness is a profound act of self-love. It is the deep, pragmatic, and compassionate act of setting ourselves free. Imagine holding a burning hot coal in your hand. Your intention is to one day throw it back at the person who gave it to you. But as you wait, whose hand is being burned? Whose body is filled with the smell of scorched flesh? Whose energy is consumed by the agony of holding on? To hold on to anger, resentment, and a desire for revenge is to hold a hot coal. The other person may be miles away, completely unaware of your inner turmoil, living their life, while you alone are suffering the torment. Forgiveness is the moment of wisdom, when you realize the pain of holding on is greater than the pain of letting go. It is the simple, powerful decision to open your hand and drop the coal, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve to be free from the burn. It is a declaration of inner independence, a refusal to allow the events of the past to continue poisoning the present moment. The path to forgiving another begins not with bypassing our pain, but by honoring it completely. You cannot forgive a wound you haven't acknowledged. So the first step is to allow yourself to feel the hurt, to say to your own heart, yes, that was painful. What happened was not right. My feelings of anger and sadness are valid. This validation is essential. It is you, standing on your own side. Once you have honored your own pain, you can begin to look at the person who caused it through the lens of wisdom we have been cultivating. Remember the truth of dukkha. Remember the three poisons. Remember the empty boat. Hurt people. The person who harmed you was not acting from a place of peace, wisdom, and clarity. They were acting from their own confusion, their own fear, their own pain, their own ignorance. They were in the grip of their own craving, aversion, and delusion. To see this does not excuse their behavior, but it does depersonalize it. It was less an attack on you and more an expression of their own inner suffering. Seeing this, you can begin to form the intention of letting go. You can say in the quiet of your own heart, I see the suffering that led you to cause suffering. For the sake of my own peace, I am no longer willing to carry this burden. I release you from the prison of my resentment. This may not be a single event. It may be a process you have to repeat many times, each time dropping the hot coal again until your hand is finally cool. Perhaps even more challenging than forgiving others is the act of forgiving ourselves. So many of us are haunted by the ghosts of our past mistakes. We lie awake at night, cringing at the memory of a foolish word, a selfish act, a time we hurt someone we loved. We carry a heavy bag of shame and regret, and it weighs down our every step. The practice of self-forgiveness is the practice of applying that same wise compassion to ourselves. Look back at the person you were when you made that mistake. See that person with kind eyes. See their confusion, their immaturity, their own pain and ignorance at that time. You were doing the best you could with the awareness and the tools you had. If you had known better, you would have done better. That past version of you deserves your compassion, not your endless condemnation. Your mistakes are not permanent stains on your character. They are lessons. They are the rich, dark mud from which your present wisdom has grown. You can be grateful for the lesson, even as you regret the action. And so, you can offer yourself the same grace you would offer another. You can place your hand on your heart and whisper, I forgive myself. I was learning. I am still learning. I release myself from the burden of this shame. There is a simple Zen story that wonderfully captures the essence of this practice. A revered master was walking through a village when a man, full of anger and jealousy, began to shout insults at him. The master listened patiently, without reacting, until the man ran out of breath. When he was finished, the master asked him calmly, My friend, if a person offers you a gift, and you do not accept the gift, to whom does that gift belong? The man, surprised, thought for a moment and replied, Well, it would still belong to the person who offered it. The master smiled gently and said, Exactly, and so it is. With your anger and your insults, I do not accept them. The man stood in stunned silence, realizing that his poison had never touched the master. It had remained his own. When someone harms us, they offer us a gift of their pain, their anger, their negativity. When we hold on to a grudge, when we endlessly ruminate on the injustice, we have accepted their gift. We have taken their garbage and brought it into our own home, our own heart. Forgiveness is the act of politely refusing the gift. It is the conscious choice to keep our inner space clean and uncluttered by the residue of past hurts. Forgiveness, then, is the ultimate spring cleaning of the heart. It is a courageous journey, not a single destination. It is the patient, repetitive, and deeply loving act of unclenching our fist and dropping the hot coals of the past, so that we may live more freely and lightly in the present. As we do this work, clearing away the debris of old resentments and making peace with our own imperfections, we find that our heart becomes remarkably spacious and serene. We have faced the suffering with compassion, and we have released the grievances through forgiveness. This creates a new capacity within us, a lightness of being that allows for one of the most beautiful and often overlooked qualities of an awakened heart: the ability to feel genuine joy, not just for our own good fortune, but for the happiness and success of others. This is the gateway to the sublime practice of mudita, or sympathetic joy. Having walked the courageous paths of compassion and forgiveness, clearing the heart of its heaviest stones, we find it has become a lighter, more spacious, and more fertile ground. We have soothed its response to pain. We have actively wished for its well-being and the well-being of others. Now, we are ready to cultivate one of the most beautiful and joyful flowers in the garden of the heart. This is the practice of mudita, a Pali word that means sympathetic or appreciative joy. It is the ability to feel genuine, unselfish delight in the happiness, success, and good fortune of other people. It is the radiant opposite of its dark and painful shadows, envy and jealousy. In a world that so often encourages competition and comparison, the cultivation of mudita is a radical act of inner rebellion, a direct path to a joy that is boundless and freely available at all times. Let us be honest with ourselves. Our culture is a breeding ground for the poison of comparison. We open our phones and are immediately inundated with the curated highlight reels of other people's lives. We see their beautiful vacations, their perfect families, their career triumphs, their stunning achievements. And what is our habitual, unconscious reaction? So often, it is to compare their highlight reel to the raw, unedited, behind-the-scenes footage of our own lives. In that comparison, our own life almost always feels lacking. A subtle poison seeps into our mind, a feeling of less than. This is the thief of joy. This habit of comparison fosters a deep and painful illusion, the illusion of scarcity. We begin to believe that happiness, success, and good fortune are limited resources, like pieces of a single pie. If someone else gets a large slice, we subconsciously feel that there is less left for us. This belief is the very root of envy and jealousy, painful states of mind that contract the heart, isolate us from others, and ironically, make it impossible for us to enjoy the goodness that is already present in our own lives. Mudita is the powerful antidote. It is the wisdom that understands that the pie of happiness is infinite. The practice of cultivating sympathetic joy, like the other heart practices, is a skill that can be trained. It begins by consciously choosing to shift our perspective. We can start with those closest to us, where feeling joy for them often comes most naturally. The next time a dear friend or a family member shares some wonderful news with you, a new relationship, a promotion at work, a personal breakthrough, I invite you to do more than just say, "That's wonderful." Pause for a moment. Instead of immediately turning the conversation back to yourself, truly savor their happiness. See the light in their eyes, the joy in their smile. Let their good fortune warm your own heart. In the quiet of your mind, you can offer them a simple phrase of mudita. "I am so happy for you. I rejoice in your good fortune. May your happiness and success continue and grow." Feel the sincerity of that wish. Notice how it feels in your own body to genuinely celebrate another's joy. It is a feeling of expansion, of connection, of warmth. Once you are comfortable with this, you can expand the circle. You can practice mudita with strangers. You are walking in a park and you see a family laughing and playing together. Instead of letting it pass by unnoticed or feeling a pang of loneliness if you are alone, you can take a moment to appreciate their joy. You can silently wish them well. How beautiful. May your happiness continue. You read a story online about someone who has overcome great odds to achieve their dream. You can feel a genuine sense of celebration for their success, as if they were your own sibling. This practice transforms the world around you. It is no longer a stage for competition, but a vast field of potential joy. Every smile you see, every laugh you hear, every piece of good news you encounter becomes an opportunity to nourish your own heart. The most advanced practice, of course, is to cultivate mudita for someone you find difficult, or even for a rival. To feel genuine joy for the success of someone you envy is a sign of a heart that is truly becoming free. This is not easy, but it begins with the understanding that their success does not diminish you. Their light does not extinguish yours. In fact, a world with more happiness and success is a better world for everyone. This leads us to the beautiful logic of abundant joy. Our own personal moments of peak happiness are, by their very nature, rare and fleeting. If our happiness depends only on our own good fortune, we are setting ourselves up for a life of quiet desperation, always chasing the next personal victory. But if we can learn to feel joy in the happiness of every other being on this planet, then our source of joy becomes infinite. Our capacity for happiness is no longer limited to the small vessel of our own life. We have tapped into the vast ocean of human goodness. Every success story becomes our success story. Every moment of love and connection we witness becomes our own. We have moved from the poverty of a scarcity mindset to the boundless wealth of an abundance mindset. There is a story of two skilled potters who lived in the same village. One potter, let's call him Ravi, was exceptionally talented, and his pots were known throughout the land for their beauty. The other potter, named Sanjay, was also skilled, but he lived in the shadow of Ravi's fame. As he saw customers flocking to Ravi's stall, Sanjay's heart grew heavy with envy. His own work began to suffer, for his hands were guided by a bitter and contracted heart. He spent more time watching Ravi's success with resentment than he did focusing on his own clay. One day, an old monk, passing through the village, saw the misery on Sanjay's face. He sat with him and said, "I see you are in pain. Let me suggest an experiment. For 1 week, every time you see Ravi sell a pot, instead of feeling envy, I want you to try and feel as if you yourself had just made a sale. Silently, in your heart, rejoice for him." Sanjay thought the idea was absurd, but his misery was so great, he was willing to try anything. The first day was agony. He had to force the intention, but he persisted. On the second day, he noticed the beautiful smile on the face of a woman who bought one of Ravi's pots, and he felt a tiny flicker of shared happiness. On the third day, he began to truly admire the skill and artistry in Ravi's work. By the end of the week, something had shifted in him. His heart felt lighter. Seeing the bustling activity at Ravi's stall no longer felt like a personal defeat, but a sign of the village's prosperity. Freed from the poison of his envy, he returned to his own potter's wheel with a clear mind and a joyful heart. His own work began to shine with a newfound creativity and life. He had learned that another's light does not diminish our own. It simply makes the entire world a brighter place. To cultivate mudita is to choose to live in that brighter world. It is the joyful heart's yes to the goodness of life, wherever it may be found. As we nurture compassion for suffering, loving kindness for all beings, and sympathetic joy for their happiness, we are cultivating a heart that is incredibly rich, active, and alive. But for these powerful positive emotions to be truly sustainable, to prevent them from becoming unbalanced or leading to burnout, they need to be held within a container of profound stability and wisdom. We need a fourth, balancing quality. This quality is the vast, serene, and unshakable peace of upekkha, or equanimity, the crown jewel of the four divine abodes. Having nurtured a heart that is tender with compassion, warm with loving kindness, and bright with sympathetic joy, we have cultivated a profound and active engagement with the world. Our heart is open, alive, and responsive. Yet, this very openness carries a certain risk. A heart that feels compassion so deeply can be prone to burnout and sorrow. A heart that loves so fiercely can become attached and clinging. A heart that rejoices so fully can be disappointed when joy fades. To bring these three active beautiful qualities into perfect harmony, and to make them sustainable, we need a fourth, balancing element. This is the fourth and final of the divine abodes, the crown jewel of the heart practices. It is the sublime, unshakable peace of upekkha, the Pali word for equanimity. If the other three qualities are the beautiful waves on the ocean's surface, equanimity is the vast, silent, imperturbable depth of the ocean itself. It is essential to understand what equanimity is and what it is not. It is not indifference, apathy, or cold detachment. Indifference is a closing down of the heart, a form of aversion that says, "I don't care." It is a heart shielded by a wall of stone. Equanimity, by contrast, requires a heart that is wide open, supremely sensitive, and deeply caring. The difference is that a heart of equanimity is not thrown off balance by what it feels. It has cultivated a spaciousness so vast that it can hold all of life's experiences, the beautiful and the painful, the pleasant and the unpleasant, without being swept away by them. It is the difference between a small puddle, which is thrown into turmoil by a single falling stone, and the great ocean, which can receive a meteor, and its surface barely trembles. Equanimity is not a lack of feeling. It is the presence of a profound, unshakable balance, born of deep wisdom. This wisdom allows us to stand firm in the face of what Buddhism calls the 8 worldly winds. These are the 8 conditions of life that constantly blow upon us, threatening to throw us off balance. They come in 4 pairs of opposites: praise and its opposite, blame, success and its opposite, failure, gain and its opposite, loss and pleasure and its opposite, pain. Think of your life. An ordinary, unbalanced mind is like a leaf caught in these winds. When the wind of praise blows, we are elated, lifted high. When the wind of blame blows, we are crushed, dashed to the ground. We become addicted to the thrill of success and terrified by the prospect of failure. We grasp desperately at gain and are devastated by loss. We chase after pleasure and flee from pain. Our inner peace is entirely dependent on which way the wind is blowing on any given day. We are, in effect, a puppet, and the strings are being pulled by the unpredictable and uncontrollable events of the world. To cultivate equanimity is to learn to be the mountain, not the leaf. The winds still blow. The warm wind of praise still feels pleasant on the mountain slopes. The cold wind of blame still feels sharp. The mountain is not numb. It feels everything. But it is not moved. Its deep, quiet stability comes not from the changing weather, but from its own vast, grounded nature. Its peace is unconditional. This is the peace that equanimity offers. It is the discovery of a source of well-being within ourselves that is not dependent on external validation or circumstances. How do we practice this? Equanimity is the natural fruit of the mindfulness practices we have already been exploring. It grows from the deep, experiential understanding of anicca, or impermanence. When a pleasant feeling arises, a moment of joy or peace, the mind with equanimity does not cling. It enjoys the feeling fully, but it also has a quiet wisdom in the background that knows this is a pleasant feeling. It is beautiful, and it, too, will pass. By not grasping, it avoids the suffering that comes when the feeling inevitably fades. When a difficult experience arises a painful sensation in the body, a wave of sadness, the sting of criticism, the mind with equanimity does not resist. It does not push the experience away. It allows it to be present, again with the quiet wisdom. This is an unpleasant feeling. It is here now, and it, too, will pass. This allows the pain to move through us without becoming stuck. The mantra of a mind training in equanimity is, "This too shall pass," not as a cynical dismissal, but as a profound and comforting recognition of reality. This practice gradually unties the knots of craving and aversion, allowing the heart to settle into its natural state of spacious, balanced peace. There is a classic Zen story that perfectly illustrates this unshakable mind. In a small village, there lived an old Zen master who was revered for his wisdom. One day, a beautiful young woman in the village, who had become pregnant, was pressured by her angry parents to name the father. In a moment of panic, to protect the young man she truly loved, she named the old Zen master. The parents, followed by a mob of outraged villagers, stormed to the master's simple hut. They screamed at him, calling him a hypocrite and a disgrace. They spat insults at him, their faces contorted with rage. Throughout their tirade, the master listened with a deep, quiet calm. When they were finally finished, he looked at them and said, very simply, "Is that so?" When the child was born, the parents brought the infant and thrust it into the master's arms, saying, "This is your child. You must care for it." The master accepted the baby. His reputation was ruined. He was no longer revered. He was reviled. He lost all of his students and had to beg for milk from his neighbors to feed the child. Enduring their scorn and contempt, he cared for the baby with great love and tenderness. A year passed. The young mother's conscience could no longer bear the weight of her lie. She confessed the truth to her parents that the father was another young man from the village. Mortified and filled with deep remorse, the parents and villagers rushed back to the master's hut. They bowed low, weeping and apologizing profusely. "We are so sorry. You are not the father. You are a great and noble man. We have come to take the baby back." The master listened to their effusive apologies with the same deep, quiet calm. As he gently handed the baby back to them, he said, very simply, "Is that so?" His peace was not dependent on their praise. His peace was not destroyed by their blame. He was the mountain. This is upekkha. It is the balanced heart that keeps compassion from becoming despair, that keeps loving kindness from becoming possessive attachment, and that keeps sympathetic joy from becoming overexcitement. It is the great container that holds all the other beautiful qualities of the heart in a state of perfect, wise harmony. It is the deep silence and stillness of the soul. With a mind that has been steadied and balanced by this profound peace, we are now prepared to see the world with even greater clarity. A heart that is this calm and clear is like a perfectly still lake, and a still lake can reflect the vastness of the sky above, revealing the deepest nature of reality itself. This prepares us to explore the liberating wisdom of sunyata, the spacious, interdependent, and empty nature of all things. Having cultivated a heart that is balanced and a mind that is stilled by the profound peace of equanimity, we are now prepared to look more deeply into the nature of reality than ever before. A mind that is calm, clear, and stable is like a powerful lens, capable of seeing beyond the surface appearance of things into their very essence. This stage of our journey takes us into the heart of wisdom, to a concept known in Sanskrit as sunyata, or emptiness. The word itself can sound frightening. It can conjure images of a cold, black void, of nothingness, of annihilation. But this is a profound misunderstanding. The wisdom of emptiness is not a nihilistic denial of life. It is the most joyful, liberating, and deeply connecting truth we can ever come to realize. It is the secret that unlocks the final doors of fear and isolation. To understand emptiness, we must first ask the question, empty of what? Things are not empty of existence. The bed you are lying on exists. The breath in your lungs exists. The world exists. Things are empty of something much more specific. They are empty of separate, independent, or inherent existence. Nothing exists on its own, from its own side, without depending on everything else. Everything we see, touch, and experience is a temporary manifestation, a coming together of countless causes and conditions. The great Zen master, Thich Nhat Hanh, offered a beautiful and simple way to see this profound truth. He invited his students to look deeply at a single sheet of paper. As you lie here, you can visualize a sheet of paper in your mind. At first, it appears to be a solid, separate object. But let us look more deeply. Can you see the cloud in this sheet of paper? Without a cloud, there is no rain. Without rain, the trees cannot grow. Without trees, we cannot make paper. So the cloud is an essential, non-paper part of the paper. If you take the cloud out of the paper can no longer exist. Can you see the sunshine in the paper? The sun's powerful energy is necessary for the tree to grow through photosynthesis. The light and warmth of the sun, which has traveled millions of miles, is embedded in the very structure of the paper. If you take the sunshine out, the paper vanishes. Now look deeper. Can you see the logger who cut down the tree? He is there, and the logger's parents, who gave him life, are also there. And the breakfast he ate that morning to have the strength to work the wheat in his bread, the farmer who grew the wheat, the soil that nourished the crop, all of this is also present in this single sheet of paper. And what of the factory worker who processed the pulp, the truck driver who transported it, the store owner who sold it? What of the ideas and language that allowed for the invention of paper in the first place? When we look deeply enough, we see that the entire cosmos, in all its vastness and complexity, has conspired together to bring this simple sheet of paper into being. It is made entirely of non-paper elements. It is empty of a separate self, but it is full of the whole universe. This is the truth of interbeing. Now, let us turn this powerful lens upon ourselves. We have this strong feeling of being an I, a solid, separate person inside this skin. But just like the sheet of paper, when we look deeply, we see that this I is also empty of a separate self. The food you ate today is in you, becoming your cells. The air you are breathing at this very moment is in you. The sun that warms the planet is in you. The words, ideas, and kindness you have received from your parents, your teachers, and your friends are all in you. Your ancestors, stretching back through unimaginable time, are present in your DNA. If you were to take away all of these non-you elements, what would be left? Nothing at all. You, like the sheet of paper, are a temporary, beautiful manifestation of the entire universe. Your existence is inextricably interwoven with the existence of all that is. To realize this is to be healed from the great sickness of loneliness. How can you ever be truly alone when the entire cosmos lives and breathes within you? The hard, artificial boundary we draw between self and other begins to dissolve. Your well-being is not separate from the well-being of the trees, the rivers, the air, and every other person. Their suffering is your suffering. Their joy is your joy. This is not a poetic sentiment. It is the fundamental nature of reality. This profound insight is the central message of one of the most famous Buddhist texts, the Heart Sutra. In this sutra, the great being of compassion, Avalokiteshvara, looks deeply into the nature of existence. He examines the 5 aggregates that make up a person or body: feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. and he sees with perfect clarity that all five are empty of any inherent, separate self. And the sutra says that because he had this profound realization, he was immediately freed from all dukkha, all suffering and distress. Seeing emptiness is the direct path to liberation. At the end of the sutra is a celebratory mantra, a cry of awakening. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. It can be poetically translated as gone, gone, gone beyond, completely gone beyond to the other shore. Oh, what an awakening, what a relief. It is the celebration of having crossed over from the shore of illusion, the belief in solid, separate thingsto, the other shore of wisdom, the realization of emptiness and into being. This vast cosmic insight also has a very practical and immediate effect on our own mind. A mind that understands emptiness begins to take on the quality of emptiness itself. It becomes vast, open, and spacious. Imagine your mind is no longer a small, cluttered room, but an infinite, clear blue sky. Thoughts, emotions, and sensations, 7 difficult ones, like fear or pain, can still arise. But now, they are like birds flying through the immense sky. They appear, they soar, or they struggle for a while, and then they disappear over the horizon. They never leave a mark or a stain on the sky itself. The sky remains untouched, serene, and boundless. When your mind realizes its own spacious, empty nature, you are no longer trapped or suffocated by your own thoughts. There is always enough room for every experience to arise and pass away. So we see that emptiness is not a void, but a plenum. It is not nothingness, but a radical everythingness. It is the great dance of life, where every part is dependent on every other part, all interwoven in a seamless, dynamic, and miraculous web. To realize this is to let go of our deepest fears, to find our true home not in a separate self, but in the heart of all that is. Now, having explored the nature of the world and the self, and found them to be empty of separation, we are led to one final, subtle inquiry. We have looked at all the phenomena that appear in our awareness, but what is the nature of this awareness itself? What is this clear, knowing light that illuminates our entire experience, the very consciousness that is able to perceive emptiness? Our journey now turns inward once more, to investigate the nature of the knower. Having journeyed to the profound realization of sunyata, the truth that all things are empty of separate existence and are instead part of a vast, interconnected web of being, we arrive at the final frontier of our inner exploration. We have examined the objects of our experience, the body, feelings, thoughts, and found them to be transient and interdependent. Now, we turn our gentle, curious gaze upon the subject itself. We ask the question, what is the nature of the awareness that is perceiving all of this? What is this silent, knowing presence that has been the constant witness throughout our entire journey tonight? This is the light that illuminates the darkness, the space in which the dance of life unfolds. This is consciousness itself. To begin, simply become aware of the sounds around you. There may be the hum of a distant appliance, the sound of the wind, or the deep silence of the night. Notice how the sounds arise, linger for a moment, and then fade away. Now, see if you can become aware of the awareness of the sound. The sounds are changing, but the knowing of them, the faculty that registers their presence, is constant and steady. The sounds appear within a field of silent listening. Now, bring your attention to the sensations in your body, the feeling of the blankets on your skin, the the rhythm of your breath in your chest. These sensations are also in flux, but notice the awareness in which they are happening. That awareness itself does not feel heavy or light, warm or cold. It is simply clear, open, and knowing. It is the space that holds the sensations. Finally, notice a thought as it drifts into your mind. See it for what it is: a little cloud of energy, a mental image, or a string of words. And now, shift your focus. Become aware of the vast, silent space in which the thought has appeared. The thought is an object, but you are also the space that perceives it. For our entire lives, we have been fascinated by the objects in our awareness. We have been obsessed with the content of our experience, the thoughts, the feelings, the stories. We have been like a person in a dark room, completely focused on the furniture, bumping into it, rearranging it, polishing it, without ever realizing that our true nature is not the furniture, but the room itself, the silent, unchanging space that allows all the furniture to be there. The great spiritual traditions have used a powerful metaphor for this. Your true nature, this pure foundational awareness, is like the sky. Your thoughts, emotions, memories, and sensations are like the clouds. As human beings, we are conditioned to be cloud gazers. We spend our lives tracking the clouds, identifying with them. When a dark, stormy cloud appears, we say, "I am angry." When a grey, drizzly cloud passes, we say, "I am sad." When a bright, fluffy white cloud floats by, we say, "I am happy." We believe that we are the clouds, and so our peace of mind is entirely dependent on the weather of the moment. The great awakening of wisdom is the moment we realize we are not the clouds, we are the sky. You are the vast, boundless, and eternally peaceful sky that holds all the weather of your life. A thundercloud may pass through you, full of fire and fury, but it cannot harm the sky. A fog of confusion may descend, but it cannot stain the sky. The most beautiful sunset may blaze across you, but when it fades, it takes none of the sky's blueness with it. The sky simply allows every cloud to arise, to be what it is, and to pass away in its own time. To realize I am the sky is to find a peace that is not subject to change. It is to find a refuge that is always, already here, just behind the veil of our passing experiences. Another beautiful analogy is that of a movie screen. Imagine you are sitting in a dark theater, completely engrossed in a film. The movie is full of drama. There are scenes of passionate romance, terrifying action sequences, heartbreaking tragedy, and joyful celebration. You laugh, you cry, you feel your heart pound with fear. You are utterly lost in the story. You have completely identified with the events happening on the screen. But what is the one element in the theater that remains absolutely constant, totally unaffected by the drama? It is the screen itself. The screen is not burned by the cinematic explosions. It is not made wet by the hero's tears. It does not fall in love or go on an adventure. It is the silent, pristine, and unchanging background that allows the entire movie of life to be projected upon it. Without the screen, there could be no movie. We are so accustomed to being lost in the movie of our life that we have forgotten our true identity. We are not the characters, not the plot twists, not the fleeting emotions. We are the screen. We are the clear, luminous, and untouched awareness upon which the entire show of our life unfolds. To realize this is to find the deepest rest. The practice now is simply to let go of all other practices. Let go of watching the breath. Let go of labeling thoughts. Let go of every kind of doing. The invitation is simply to be. Rest as this open, silent, knowing presence. Recognize the awareness that is reading these words in your mind right now. It is effortless. It is already here. It requires no work on your part. Simply abide in it. Rest in being. Let thoughts come and go. Let sensations arise and fade. Let sounds appear and disappear. You are the vast, silent space that holds them all. You are the sky. You are the screen. There is nothing to fix, nothing to achieve, and nowhere else to go. This is your ultimate home. Having journeyed from the impermanence of form to the emptiness of all phenomena, we have arrived at the recognition of the pristine, ever-present consciousness that knows it all. We have discovered that our true nature is not a troubled, separate self, but a vast, silent, and peaceful awareness. Now, the final step in our journey tonight is a practical one. How do we take this profound realization and carry it into the very act of sleep itself? How do we consciously surrender into rest, allowing the body to rejuvenate while the mind rests in this deep, silent home, making the transition from wakefulness to sleep a seamless continuation of our practice? This is the art of turning sleep itself into a form of meditation. Having realized our true nature as the vast, silent sky of awareness, a peace that is untouched by the passing clouds of thought and emotion, we arrive at the threshold of sleep. For most of us, this is an unconscious transition. We wrestle with our thoughts until, out of sheer exhaustion, we fall off the cliff of wakefulness into a blank oblivion. But our practice invites us to a more graceful and conscious path. It invites us to transform the very act of falling asleep into the culmination of our meditation. Sleep need not be an interruption of our practice. It can become the practice itself, the ultimate practice of surrender, release, and trust. The journey into sleep begins before our head even hits the pillow. It begins with the power of our intention. The thoughts and feelings we marinate in just before we lose consciousness have a profound effect on the quality of our rest and the state of our mind when we awaken. If we fall asleep while anxiously replaying the day's events or worrying about tomorrow, we are setting the rudder of our subconscious mind to sail through a stormy sea. We can emerge in the morning feeling just as tired and agitated as when we went to bed. Instead, we can consciously set a different course. As you settle into your final resting position for the night, take a moment to form a clear, gentle intention. It is not a demand, but a soft whisper to your deepest self. You might silently say, "I have done enough for today. I now release the day, with all its successes and all its failures. I offer my body to deep, healing rest. I offer my mind to peace. May my sleep be tranquil and rejuvenating. May I rest in the heart of awareness. Feel the sincerity of this wish." You are giving yourself permission to let go. You are creating a sanctuary for yourself, a peaceful harbor in which to anchor for the night. Now, let us look at sleep itself. We often think of it as something we must do, something we must achieve. This very effort, this trying to sleep, is the source of so much struggle. It is the ego, the sense of a separate doer, trying to control a natural process that cannot be controlled. The great wisdom of sleep is that it is a profound teaching in the art of letting go. To fall asleep, you must surrender everything. You must surrender your body, allowing it to become completely still and heavy. You must surrender your senses, withdrawing your attention from the outer world. And most challenging of all, you must surrender your thoughts, letting the river of mind flow on without you, releasing your grip on the I who thinks, plans, and worries. Sleep cannot be hunted down or captured. It is a shy creature that emerges only when we stop chasing it. The practice, then, is to notice the part of you that is trying to fall asleep, and to gently invite that part to relax, to trust in the innate wisdom of your body, which knows how to rest just as your heart knows how to beat. You are letting go of the reins and allowing a deeper intelligence to take over. To aid in this process of surrender, we can engage in a practice from the yogic tradition known as Yoga Nidra, which literally means yogic sleep. It is a guided journey that systematically relaxes the body and mind, bringing you to the peaceful threshold state between wakefulness and sleep, a state of profound healing and receptivity. Let us begin a short version of this practice now. Make any final adjustments so that your body is as comfortable as it can possibly be. Now, bring your awareness to the right side of your body. Become aware of your right hand thumb, the first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger. Feel the palm of the right hand, the back of the hand, the wrist, the forearm, the elbow, the upper arm, the right shoulder. Feel the entire right arm, all at once. Now, bring your awareness to the left side, the left hand thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, the palm of the left hand, the back of the hand, the wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, the left shoulder. Feel the entire left arm. Now, become aware of the back of your body, your right shoulder blade, your left shoulder blade, your right buttock, your left buttock, the entire length of your spine. Feel the whole back of your body in contact with the surface beneath you. Now, bring your awareness to the front of the body, the top of your head, your forehead, your right eyebrow, your left eyebrow, your right eye, your left eye, your right ear, your left ear, your nose, your upper lip, your lower lip, your chin, your throat, your right collarbone, your left collarbone, the right side of your chest, the left side of your chest, the center of your chest, your upper abdomen, your navel, your lower abdomen. Feel the entire front of your body. Now feel your whole right leg, your whole left leg, both legs together. Feel your whole right arm, your whole left arm, both arms together. Feel the whole body, the whole body, the whole body together as one unified field of sensation. Now, let this awareness of the body dissolve. Simply rest. There is nothing to do, nowhere to go. Simply allow yourself to float in this peaceful, spacious awareness. You have done the work. Now, you can simply be. And from this state of deep, effortless being, you can allow the gentle tide of sleep to carry you away. In the high mountain traditions of Tibetan Buddhism, there are advanced practices known as dream yoga. In these practices, meditators train themselves for years to become lucid. In their dream stow, recognize that they are dreaming while the dream is still happening. This demonstrates a profound truth. Consciousness is deeper and more continuous than our waking state. Awareness can persist even when the thinking mind is dormant. We do not need to become dream yogis, but this can inspire us. It shows us that the night is not a void. It is a rich, mysterious realm of consciousness. And what if you find yourself waking up in the middle of this realm? At 2 or 3 in the morning, the common reaction is frustration. The second arrow. Oh no, I'm awake again. I'll be exhausted tomorrow. But we can choose a different response. See this waking moment not as a problem, but as a gift. It is a precious, sacred time of absolute stillness and silence. Welcome it. Do not fight the wakefulness. Use this time. Return to the soft rhythm of your breath. Offer phrases of loving kindness to the sleeping world around you. Rest in the open, spacious awareness that you have come to know. The less you struggle against being awake, the more quickly and peacefully your body will return to sleep when it is ready. By setting a clear intention and practicing this art of conscious surrender, we transform the night from a battle to be won or a void to be endured into a deep, healing meditation. We allow the body to receive the profound rest it needs, and we allow the mind to marinate in the peaceful, boundless nature of its own awareness. And when we have rested so deeply, so consciously, in the heart of being, how do we then emerge from this sanctuary of the night? How do we carry this peace, this clarity, this renewed sense of self into the first precious moments of the new day? Our journey now takes us to the edge of the dawn. As the deep, restorative quiet of the night gives way to the first, faint whispers of the dawn, we find ourselves at a most sacred and delicate threshold. This is the liminal space between the world of dreams and the world of doing, a moment pregnant with possibility. For many of us, this is the most perilous moment of the day for our peace of mind. The alarm clock sounds, and instantly, the monkey mind leaps from its slumber. Before our feet even touch the floor, it is already swinging wildly on the branches of our to-do list. Our anxieties, our resentments, and our expectations. The sanctuary we so carefully cultivated during the night can seem to evaporate in an instant, shattered by the abrupt demands of the day. But it does not have to be this way. The transition from resting to rising can itself become a beautiful and grounding practice. The peace of the night is not a fragile treasure to be hidden away. It is a sturdy vessel, and we can learn to carry its precious contents with us into the daylight. Our final practice together is the art of beginning anew. Before you move a single muscle, before your eyes even open, let the very first moment of your waking awareness be a conscious one. The moment you realize I am awake, let your first act be a return to your anchor. Find your breath. Feel the first conscious breaths of the new day move through your body. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest. These first few breaths are a sacred bridge. They connect the deep, inner world of your sleep with the outer world you are about to enter. By pausing here for even just 10 or 20 seconds, you are making a profound choice. You are choosing to begin your day from a place of centeredness rather than chaos. You are communicating to your entire nervous system that your home base is one of peace, and that whatever the day may bring, you will always have this anchor to return to. You are claiming the first moments of the day as your own, before the world has a chance to claim you. From this place of stillness, with your eyes still closed, I invite you to engage in a simple but life-altering practice, the cultivation of gratitude. Before the mind has a chance to focus on what is wrong, on what is lacking, or on what needs to be done, we consciously direct it towards what is good. The mind, left to its own devices, has a negativity bias. It is like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. Gratitude is the practice of reversing this habit. In the quiet of your mind, silently name 3 specific things for which you are genuinely grateful. They need not be grand. In fact, the power is in their simplicity. Perhaps the first is the warmth and comfort of your bed. Truly feel it. Feel the softness of the pillows, the weight of the blankets. It is a simple gift, yet a profound comfort. Perhaps the second is the gift of your own body, this incredible, complex organism that has worked tirelessly through the night to heal and rejuvenate you, and whose heart has not missed a single beat. And perhaps the third is simply the gift of a new day itself, a completely fresh, unwritten page full of unknown possibilities. By starting your day with this conscious acknowledgement of goodness, you are tuning your mind to a different frequency. You are priming your awareness to look for what is right, not just what is wrong. This simple act can change the entire emotional tenor of your day, shifting it from a baseline of lack and anxiety to a baseline of sufficiency and appreciation. Now, as you begin to move, to rise from your bed, do so with a quality of mindfulness. Feel your feet making contact with the floor. Feel the coolness or warmth beneath them. As you make your way to the kitchen to prepare your first drink of the day, whether it is a glass of water, a cup of tea, or a coffee, see this as your first formal meditation. This is a mindful ritual. As you prepare your drink, pay attention to the simple, sensory details. If you are boiling water, listen to the sound as it begins to bubble and boil. As you pour the water, watch the steam rise like a prayer. Hold the warm mug in your hands and feel its heat seep into your palms. Before you take the first sip, take a moment to notice the aroma, and when you finally drink, do so with your full attention. Feel the liquid in your mouth, its taste, its warmth, as it travels down into your body. For these few minutes, your entire universe is simply this cup and this drink. You are not planning your day. You are not checking your phone. You are simply here, fully present with this simple, nourishing act. By infusing this ordinary routine with extraordinary attention, you are weaving your practice into the very fabric of your life. This principle can be extended to every morning activity. The shower can become a waterfall meditation, feeling the water on your skin, the scent of the soap. Brushing your teeth can be a 2-minute practice in focused attention. Getting dressed can be a meditation on the textures and feelings of the clothes on your body. There is a famous Zen story that captures this principle perfectly. A young, eager monk approaches his master after a morning meal and asks, "Master, I have been here for months. Please, give me your essential teaching. What is the secret of Zen?" The master looks at him and asks, "Have you finished your rice porridge?" The young monk nods. "Yes, Master." The master replies simply, "Then go and wash your bowl." The student was initially bewildered, expecting some profound, esoteric secret. But the teaching was right there, in that simple instruction. The secret is not in a far-off idea. Enlightenment is not waiting in a special book or a mystical vision. The secret is to be completely present with whatever you are doing right now. When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. When you wash your bowl, just wash your bowl. This is the heart of a mindful life. It is the understanding that there are no unimportant moments. By greeting the dawn in this way with a conscious breath, a grateful heart, and a mindful presence in simple rituals, you are not just starting your day, you are creating it. You are actively shaping it from a place of peace and intention. You are reminding yourself that the sanctuary you found in the stillness of the night is not a place you have to leave behind. It is a quality of being that you carry within you. Having journeyed through the darkness together, we can now see it not as a fearsome void, but as something else entirely. We can see it as our greatest teacher. We have traveled a great distance together on this path. We began with a diagnosis of the subtle, pervasive ache of modern life, the feeling of being fundamentally unsettled, and we gave it a name, dukkha. We looked directly at its cause, not in the world outside, but in the inner mechanics of our own minds. In the relentless, thirsty grasping we called tanha, we saw that a cure, a state of profound peace called nirodha, was not just a distant dream, but a tangible possibility. And we were given a map, a practical, beautiful, and complete set of instructions for the journey, the Noble Eightfold Path. We have walked this path, step by step, from right view to right concentration, exploring the vast landscapes of wisdom, ethical living, and mental discipline. We have learned to cultivate the boundless qualities of the heart and to recognize the inner demons, the hindrances that cloud our inner light. And so, a question naturally arises. After all this learning, all this understanding, what now? How do we take this profound and ancient map and use it to navigate the very real, very modern streets of our own lives? How do we live this truth, not just understand it? The Buddha, in his immense wisdom, anticipated this very question. He understood the human tendency to turn a tool into an idol, to cling to the very thing that was meant to set us free. And so, he told a simple, powerful story. Imagine a person, he said, who comes to a great body of water. The shore they are on is dangerous and full of fear, but the other shore is safe and secure. There is no boat to cross, no bridge to walk. So, this person, being resourceful, gathers grass, twigs, branches, and leaves, and with great effort builds a raft. Relying on that raft, and paddling with their hands and feet, they cross safely to the other shore. Now, the Buddha asked, what should this person do with the raft? Having arrived at the far shore, would it be wise for them to think, this raft has been so helpful to me. I built it with my own hands. I will hoist it onto my shoulders and carry it with me as I continue my journey on land. Or would it be wiser to beach the raft, to leave it at the water's edge for another traveler to use, and to walk on, unburdened? The answer is clear. The raft is essential for crossing the river, but it becomes a foolish burden once the crossing is complete. This is perhaps one of the most important lessons for the modern practitioner. The Dharma, the teachings of Buddhism, are this raft. They are not a collection of beliefs to be worshipped, a dogma to be defended, or a new identity to cling to. They are a pragmatic tool, a vehicle, designed for the sole purpose of carrying us from the shore of suffering, confusion, and fear to the shore of freedom, clarity, and peace. We must study the teachings. We must build our raft with care through learning and contemplation. We must put forth the effort to paddle through our practice of meditation and mindfulness. But we must never forget its ultimate purpose. Clinging to the teachings as an intellectual trophy, using Pali terms to sound spiritual, or judging others who are not on the path, is like carrying the raft on your back. It misses the entire point. The goal is not to become a great Buddhist. The goal is to become a free human being. The teachings are the finger pointing at the moon of liberation. We must not mistake the finger for the moon itself. This leads us to a beautiful and liberating realization, one perfectly captured in a famous Zen story. A student asks a great master, "What did you do before you were enlightened?" The master replied, "I chopped wood and I carried water." The student, curious, then asked, "And what do you do now, after you are enlightened?" The master smiled and said, "I chop wood and I carry water." On the surface, nothing has changed. The external activities of life remain. There are still dishes to be washed, emails to be answered, families to be cared for, traffic to be navigated. The Dharma is not an escape from these realities. It is not a ticket to a life where chores no longer exist and challenges never arise. The profound change is not in the what, but in the how. The transformation is entirely internal. Before enlightenment, the wood was chopped with a scattered mind, a mind lost in resentments about the past or anxieties about the future. The water was carried with a sense of burden, of complaint, of being separate from the task. After enlightenment, the wood is just chopped, the water is just carried. Each swing of the axe, each step with the water buckets, is saturated with total presence. with a quiet, unobtrusive mindfulness. The division between the self and the action dissolves. There is no longer a me who is resentfully washing the dishes. There is only the warm water, the sound of the ceramic, the gleam of the clean plate. The sacred is not found in a distant temple or on a remote mountain top. It is found right here, in the heart of our ordinary, everyday life. This is the essence of integrated practice. It is about taking the formal meditation off the cushion and weaving it into the very fabric of our day. When you are caught in a traffic jam, this is your practice. Instead of allowing the fire of frustration, of Sanhern, to ignite, you can feel the pressure in your chest, the tension in your hands on the steering wheel, and you can breathe. You can look at the other drivers and practice metta, recognizing that they, like you, are simply trying to get somewhere, that they, like you, wish to be happy. The traffic jam ceases to be an obstacle and becomes a monastery. When you are having a difficult conversation with a loved one, this is your practice. Instead of armoring your ego and preparing for battle, you can practice right speech, listening not just to their words, but to the suffering behind them. You can practice compassion, karuna, feeling the truth in their pain and your own. The argument transforms into an opportunity for deep connection. When you are doing a mundane task, like folding laundry, this is your practice. You can feel the texture of the fabric. You can notice the subtle colors. You can perform the task with a gentle, focused attention. This is not about making the laundry more interesting. It is about showing up for your own life, moment by moment. Each fold is a small act of sati, of mindfulness. Each dish washed, each floor swept, each email written with care becomes an act of living meditation. This is what it means to go beyond theory. This is how the raft is left at the shore. You no longer need to constantly refer to the map of the teachings, because the landscape has become your home. You embody the principles. You don't just know about impermanence, Anika. You feel the fleeting nature of your own breath. And so you live with less fear and more appreciation. You don't just understand not self, anatta. You experience the dissolving of your rigid ego in moments of genuine connection. And so you live with more humility and love. To walk this path requires a special attitude, one the Zen tradition calls shoshin, or beginner's mind. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. The moment we think we know it all, that we have arrived, we have stopped walking and have started carrying our raft like a trophy. Beginner's mind is a radical humility. It is the willingness to approach every moment, every person, every experience, as if for the first time. It is a state of profound openness and curiosity. It means that even after decades of practice, the act of watching one's breath is still a fresh discovery. The act of wishing someone well is still a profound act of heart. This attitude protects us from the spiritual pride that can be the most subtle and dangerous of all hindrances. It keeps our practice alive, vibrant, and ever-evolving. The journey of awakening does not have a graduation day. It is a continuous unfolding, a perpetual beginning. So, we must be clear. The wisdom of the Buddha is not offering us a life free from waves. The ocean of life is, by its very nature, full of waves, of changing conditions, of gain and loss, praise and blame, joy and sorrow. To wish for a flat, waveless ocean is to wish for death, for stagnation. The promise is not a different ocean. The promise is learning how to surf. The practice of Dharma, integrated into our daily life, is the process of building our surfboard, of learning to balance, of developing the strength and flexibility to ride the waves of our life with grace, skill, and even joy. Peace is not the absence of the storm. It is the calm center within the storm. It is the unshakable quality of the deep ocean, which remains profoundly still, even while its surface is churned by the winds. This peace is your birthright. This refuge is not in a building or a book. It is within you. The entire path, from beginning to end, is simply a journey home to the luminous, spacious, and peaceful nature of your own mind, which has been waiting patiently for you all along. You have chopped the wood of your confusion. You have carried the water of your practice. Now, simply live. We began this journey together, standing beside a figure we called Leo, a reflection of so many of us, looking out over a bustling city, feeling the weight of a success that felt strangely hollow. We began with a question whispered in the quiet moments of a busy life. Is this all there is? That question was our starting point, the grain of sand that begins the formation of a pearl. From that place of quiet desperation, we embarked on an ancient path. We dared to look directly at the nature of our discontent, giving the universal ache of dukkha a name and a face. We followed its roots deep into our own minds, discovering the relentless thirst of Tana, the engine of our own unease. But we did not linger in the diagnosis. We lifted our eyes to the horizon and saw that another shore was possible, that a cessation of this struggle, a profound peace called Nirodha, was not a myth, but a reality. And we were given a map, the Noble Eightfold Path, a guide so practical, so humane, that it asked not for blind faith, but for us to simply see and experience for ourselves. We walked this path together, learning to cultivate wisdom in our view, our intentions, our words, and our actions. We discovered how to train the wildness of our minds through effort, mindfulness, and concentration, transforming our inner world from a chaotic marketplace into a serene garden. We learned that the heart is not meant to be a fortress, but a boundless space, capable of holding all of life with loving kindness, compassion, joy, and a vast, unshakable equanimity. We have traveled from the confusion of being lost in the storm to finding the calm, silent center within it. And here, at the end of our exploration, is the single most vital message. Peace is not a destination you must struggle to reach. It is not a prize to be won, a secret to be earned, or a commodity to be purchased. It is your very nature. The peace you seek is not somewhere else, at some other time. It is right here, right now, concealed only by the clouds of your own restless thinking. The blue sky of your mind's true nature has never been stained or diminished by the passing clouds of anger, fear, or desire. It has always been there, vast, open, and serene. The entire purpose of this path is not to build something new, but to gently, patiently allow the clouds to part. You do not need to call yourself a Buddhist. You do not need to change your name or your clothes. The Buddha's final, parting instruction to his followers was simple: be a lamp unto yourself. He did not say, follow my light. He said, discover your own. All the teachings, all the stories, all the methods are simply ways to help you find the switch. The true refuge is within. The true teacher is the wisdom of your own awakened heart. So where do you begin? You begin where you are. You begin with one breath. In this very moment, can you feel the air entering your body and leaving your body? That is the beginning, and that is the entire journey. Be kind to yourself. This is not another race, another project for self-improvement. It is a gentle unfolding, a process of remembering who you already are, the journey of 1,000 miles, and the journey to ultimate peace both begin with a single, simple step. That step is yours to take. The path is open. Peace is waiting, not in the distance, but in the very next breath you take.